February 2025 was a long, cold, and dark month for Linda. 3 strong snowstorms hit the area on January 31st, February 6th, and February 13th, making it difficult to get around the city. The only ways to travel were on skis or snowmobiles, and who had those? Valentine's Day felt lost in the frost. Thomas missed those storms because he was away on business. He knew Linda didn't like when he traveled. Since the COVID emergency ended, he had to go to Northern Europe and South America every few months to take care of family matters from before they met. Linda had only known him after they married, which was right before the pandemic. Each time he traveled, he invited her to take time off work and join him. He wanted to show her what the family business was. It was nothing bad, and she could enjoy herself while he worked. She always turned him down. She was afraid of flying. Patrick, not Patrice, was still too young. She was too busy, or the schedule was too hectic. Each time she had a new reason. He even tried to explain his work to her so she would understand why he had to go. She wasn't interested. There was never enough time, and it felt too complicated. To ease her worries, he called her often, shared his location on WhatsApp, and sent pictures. But both she and her friend Dee were sure something was off. She had no real proof, but still felt uneasy. She didn't want his reasons. She just wanted him home. His stubbornness drove her crazy. He had returned from his trip just a day before Valentine's Day, and his flight was one of the last to land before the snowstorm closed the airport for nearly 2 days. But their Valentine's dinner was just frozen lasagna and broccoli. Then Linda had a great idea. They could have a makeup date, a late Valentine's celebration, and a late anniversary celebration on Friday, February 28th. They had not been able to celebrate their anniversary that year because Patrick was sick. She planned a nice dinner, sometime out at a club, and then a hotel for the night. Patrick would stay at Mrs. Porter's. They had promised to love each other 5 years ago on January 1st, 2020 in Miami Beach, at a private ceremony. There were about 50 guests on a fancy hotel rooftop that Thomas had paid for. The wedding was exactly 1 year after Thomas moved to the U.S. and 362 days after they first met. It was love at first sight for Linda. She adored Thomas' sense of humor, his unique habits, and the mystery of his background. He looked very Scandinavian, but had some British charm and a hint of South American flair. It was a wild mix. They had met by chance at an IKEA. He was buying things for the house he just bought, and she was decorating the small apartment she rented with Dee. She decided to show him how things worked in the U.S. Weeks went by, and a different kind of connection began to form. She found it amusing that he couldn't see her clearly from 15 feet away without his glasses. First, he was waiting for his eyesight to get better for eye surgery, he said. Then, the pandemic happened, and after that, he just didn't have the time. She began to appreciate his steady presence, his calmness, and how he brought peace to her busy mind. His maturity made him her support. She was surprised when he bought her a brand new RAV4 after her old car broke down. He didn't lease or finance it. He just paid for it outright. Her hard-working parents had never been able to afford a new car. Although it was registered in his name, he handed her the keys, and she didn't have to worry about insurance or maintenance. It wasn't a luxury car, but that didn't matter. He didn't buy her love with a car. He won her over with his kindness and devoted care. Her longtime friend Dee felt mixed emotions. She especially noticed how her friend, whom she used to guide and influence, moved out to live with Thomas before even getting married. Their first child, Patrice, arrived 11 months after the wedding. Thomas, who was 33 when they married, now 38, was very grateful to Linda and loved her even more for becoming a mother soon after finishing nursing school. He wanted to be a dad as soon as possible. He felt he was getting older and didn't want to be an older father like some people he had seen. Linda worried about balancing raising a child with starting her career. He encouraged her not to worry. He would help with the tough parts. So Linda, who was 22 when they married, now 27, worked as a registered nurse in a nearby clinic. She had challenging hours, which would have been tough without Thomas' support, but at least the hours were mostly during the day, since the clinic was open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Overall, she felt happy with her life. She had a loving husband, a reliable car, a lovely son, and a good job. Still, from time to time, she found herself daydreaming. What young woman hasn't wished for a magical night? It's natural. She also began to feel a desire for more. For instance, after 5 years, she was still driving the same RAV4. It was dependable, but her friends now drove luxury cars. Sometimes, when she rode with Dee, she felt a hint of jealousy. Dee noticed this. What Linda didn't realize was that those expensive cars were the most affordable models, and her friends could barely afford them. In fact, they struggled financially, often swapping credit card debt just to keep up appearances. Linda had no experience with that kind of struggle. Thomas and Linda kept their finances separate, but he often helped her out a little. Thomas mostly worked from home. He knew how to design and code mobile games. He had created one game from scratch and sold it to GameCorp before. GameCorp was impressed with his negotiation skills and invited him to the U.S. to find good games, meet the founders, and convince them to partner with GameCorp. He was quiet and didn't speak loudly. He used few strong words. Awesome was rarely heard from him. When he said good, he really meant it. If something was just okay or not okay, he made it clear. The same qualities that attracted Linda also attracted his bosses, helping him build trust with the founders of small mobile game startups, often other shy people like him. His sense of humor, appreciated by founders, became something Linda learned to enjoy, but was mostly missed by her friends. He was a high-functioning introvert. He'd been searching for games from the half-finished basement of his modest townhome since 2019. He visited the office a few hours each week and sometimes took trips to meet founders. The rest of the time, he cared for and educated his child. He earned a decent salary, around $200,000, but it was less than what he used to make. Linda had no idea. She never asked, and Thomas was fine with that. He just wanted to live a simple life. He appreciated the everyday struggles of regular people and wanted to move away from the issues that come with wealth. They lived in a townhome that he purchased with cash through a video call before arriving in the U.S. It was smaller than he could afford, but it was all he needed. They had 2 Toyota RAV4s bought with cash a few months apart. He had a loving and hard-working wife who sometimes needed help staying focused. She also had some friends he didn't like much, but he accepted that life isn't perfect. They had a stand-up paddleboard and a good bike for summer, skis for winter, and hiking boots. No clutter filled their garage or basement, just one laptop and a big monitor. He didn't have a big TV because he wasn't into sports. He felt satisfied with their life as it was. He wished Linda could get over her fear of flying that developed during COVID. Then he could slowly introduce her to the outside world, bringing her closer to his life before. He thought about taking her away from the people she considered friends, leaving GameCorp, which he liked, but that phase was ending, and perhaps starting fresh with a reforestation NGO in South America. He was working on it with Linda, and he believed they would get there soon. A week before their planned night out, Linda told him that their friends Dee and Jane would join them for dinner and go to the club with their husbands, Dave and Phil. "Tom, I'm sorry. I might have told them about our date and they just decided to come along. But don't worry, we'll have time for just us after," she said. "Whatever," he replied. He felt angry, but he tried to hide it. 3 days before their night out, he was called for a work trip to Chicago. A deal he had been working on became urgent. It was the Ghost Strike deal, the biggest game of the year, with the potential to earn a lot. With the money he'd make, she would have no reason to say no to traveling with him, and they would finally enjoy some time together. He explained the trip to Linda, not sharing the name of the game or the financial details because of a confidentiality agreement. He assured her he would return on the 28th in the early afternoon, giving him enough time to pick her up. She was upset and didn't believe him when he promised this would likely be his last business trip. He pleaded with her to understand. Later, he overheard her speaking to Dee on the phone while in the bathroom. He thought he heard her crying. That night, he said, "Linda, my job is to purchase gaming companies. I'm going to Chicago to buy one. I thought it would take a long time, but now the owners want to sell quickly. It's just fly in, negotiate, work on some details, sign papers, and pass it all to the lawyers. It will be good for us, I promise. He'll tell you everything later at dinner. Just keep your fingers crossed for me." She smiled, and they shared a tender moment before he left the next morning. In the 2.5 days after, he barely slept, finally securing the deal on February 28th around noon. He wanted to rush to the airport, but the seller wanted to celebrate, which he couldn't refuse. He changed his flight and texted Linda, saying he would meet her at the restaurant. She replied with an angry emoji. When he reached the airport, he found out his rebooked flight was canceled, and he was now on a later flight in a middle seat. This was frustrating, but he thought he would still make it to the club in time. At least she wouldn't eat alone with her friends. He texted her again to apologize. She called while he was going through security, but he couldn't answer. He listened to her voicemail full of angry words. Deciding not to call back, he just texted her before taking off. He felt angry too. He wished she would understand the demands of his job. His flight took off 30 minutes late and landed another 45 minutes late. They should have already been at the club by now. He decided to go straight there, suitcase in hand. He called her but got no answer. Her friends didn't pick up either. Then, he got a text from Jeff. Jeff Skinner, a lawyer and his longtime friend, was someone he had known since they were both 18 and in university in England. They had been roommates for years, through university and graduate school. After staying in England for a while, Jeff recently moved back to his hometown to restart his career after going through a divorce. Thomas, I am at the Morrisons. I wanted to check the place. Your wife is here with friends, Jeff texted. Thomas replied, I know. Why aren't you here? On my way, but stuck in traffic, about 35 minutes, Jeff responded. Thomas, you should be here now. A chill ran down Thomas's spine. He tried to call Jeff, but the noise and music made it impossible to hear. He went back to texting. Thomas, I got here 15 minutes ago. Linda and some football player are flirting. He touched her hand and is now at the bar. They are drinking and talking closely. This is not good. Jeff sent a couple of pictures that made Thomas feel sick. Please, tell her to stop. Tell her I will be there soon. The wait is hard, Jeff replied. I told her she should be careful. She said it was your fault for being away. She's upset. I told her she didn't understand how much it would hurt you. I begged her to be careful. Thomas, did you cheat? Never. You know me. She is just very jealous, and her friends aren't helping. Are they there? Yes. Ask them to help her calm down. After a moment, Jeff texted back. I'm sorry, Thomas. They just laughed and said it was just one night. They think she deserves to have fun since you've been away. They said you would forgive her. What nonsense! Jeff, the one leading her on is Dee. She's the worst. Please just record everything, Thomas replied. Traffic is moving now. I'll be there in 10 minutes. As the pictures and videos came through, they showed an impressive-looking football player. He was muscular, as expected, but Thomas felt a rush of determination. No matter what, he would not let this Marc Lafoutriere get away with treating his wife disrespectfully. He looked through the photos again and studied Linda's face. There was something in her expression. Attraction, longing, pride, interest, longing. That was surprising. She seemed to be getting close to someone else. He needed to act fast to save his marriage, if there was anything left to save. Was she under some influence? Perhaps. That would be her only reasonable excuse. Thomas walked into the club and hurried to their table, but before he got there, he saw Linda, wearing a blue dress with her strawberry blonde hair, leaving hand in hand with a tall man. She turned and, by chance, met her husband's gaze. He was stunned. Her eyes showed a mix of attraction, thrill, and defiance. It felt like she was saying she was getting back at him, or maybe he was imagining things. I'm sorry, man, said Jeff, walking behind him. We can go after them if you want. My car is outside. For what? She made her choice. Let her deal with it. But then he heard Dee say something to their friends. Lucky girl. She's going to have a great night. His anger flared. He moved closer to the table. What did you say? Dave, her husband, replied. Hey, no need for name-calling, Thomas. It's just a night out. Let her enjoy herself. First, it's Thomas, not Tom or Tommy. And forget you. This was supposed to be my night with her. You weren't even invited here. But, Thomas, it's Mark Lavaliere. He's a good guy. If Mark is so great, why didn't you offer your wife to him? Hey, my wife is not a... Are you sure? I could have said the same about mine until a little while ago. Thomas, Linda loves you. She's not unfaithful. No, she isn't that. But she's not being honest either. Hey, I'm her friend, and you don't get to. Friend? Let me tell you what friends do. Friends support each other. Friends help each other avoid bad choices. Friends cheer for one another. Friends don't pull each other down or encourage them to act recklessly. You did that, Thomas, not me. You pushed her away. You're mistaken, Dee. In your small mind, you think I act that way when I travel because that's what you might do. Each time I travel, I barely sleep. I work hard to earn more than the four of you will in many lifetimes. Not because I'm impressive, but because of how unmotivated you are. You just don't see it. Mark looked at the scene before him and said, I don't want this kind of life. You all dragged your friend down to your level by starting her divorce. The group gasped. Dave placed his hand on Thomas's shoulder. Tom, maybe you should think about... But he never finished his thought. In an instant, Thomas had Dave pinned against the table, his arm pushed back awkwardly and his neck under control. One more word, and you'll be sorry. I don't believe you have anything worthwhile to say. Dave, confused and in discomfort, simply nodded. The bouncers were slowly approaching, but Thomas held up his hand, and they hesitated. Everyone in the club was watching the confrontation. Yes, Dee. Divorce. You can tell your friend about it when you see her. You all should feel ashamed. The only one who tried to help her was Jeff, who doesn't even know her. You so-called friends, always jealous, just pushed her further. If I see you again, I won't hold back. Jeff, can you come by tomorrow? I know it's Saturday, but I want to finalize things by Monday. He turned toward the exit. Thomas, we need Linda's coat and purse, said Jane. Oh, right. She left them. How thoughtless of me. He quickly took the purse, opened it, and dumped the items onto the table. He found Linda's phone inside. I can't believe I married someone so foolish. He took her car keys, placed his wedding ring on the table with the other items, and walked out. 5 minutes later, he was in the hotel parking lot, putting a suitcase in the back of his car when his wife's friends approached him from behind. Thomas? It was Jane's voice. He turned around and, in a swift motion, punched both Dave and Phil in the stomach, then the ribs, causing them to fall. He raised his fist towards Dee, using all his willpower not to hit her. When his arm fell to his side, the shock caused Dee to lose control. The two men were on the ground, struggling. I warned you, he said. Dee and Jane knelt by their husbands, tears in their eyes. You're cruel. We just wanted to apologize. Now they're hurt. Good. It'll suffer for a long time. Goodbye. We're going to take legal action against you, Dee said. Go ahead. It'll be money well spent. Thomas, please, at least take Linda's purse and coat. We never intended for things to go this way, Jane pleaded, still with tears in her eyes. All right. I know what to do with her things. He picked them up, looked around, found a dumpster since the hotel was getting some work done, and threw everything in. I could wish you good night, but that's not what I really want for you." He got into his car and drove away. Thomas felt very tired. Other than a short nap on the plane, he had been awake since early Thursday. But he didn't want to go to bed just yet. He decided to pick up Patrice immediately. Right now, Patrice was the only good thing he had left, and he would do anything to keep him close. He rang Mrs. Porter's doorbell at 11 at night. The elderly widow looked surprised, especially at this late hour. "Is something wrong? Where's your wife?" Thomas thought for a moment about how to respond. "She decided to leave me at the club to spend the night with a local football player." The woman's eyes widened. "Linda? Our Linda? You can't be serious? Do I look like I'm joking? Look." He showed her some videos and photos that Jeff had sent him. "My goodness. How could she do that to a good man like you?" she asked. "I think I didn't know her as well as I thought." "What will you do now?" "I'll move on. She doesn't understand me as much as she believes." "Promise me you won't do anything you might regret." "I'm not violent, but I think she and her friends mistake my calmness for weakness. They'll see they're wrong." He smiled slightly. "Can I have my son now?" He carefully placed his sleeping son in the back seat, sent a payment and a nice tip to the widow, let her give him a hug, and then went home. He thought about calling a locksmith to change the locks, but since Linda didn't have her keys or phone, there was no hurry. He tucked his boy in and tried to sleep. He wished he could rest peacefully forever. Dee had her reasons for getting her husband and friends to join Linda and Thomas for their night out. She had heard that Marc Lavaliere went to the Morrisons on Fridays to pick up women, especially married ones, right in front of their husbands. She wanted nothing more than to spend time with Marc, but couldn't convince Dave to go out unless there was a big event or celebration. That's when Linda gave Dee the perfect reason. Linda talked about Marc throughout dinner, and sure enough, he walked in, headed to the bar, ordered a drink, looked around, and came over to their table. To Dee's disappointment, he chose Linda. Linda almost said no, but when she looked into his eyes, she hesitated. Thomas was late, and she was upset with him. Linda felt hurt. Thomas was always away on trips. She wasn't sure if they were for work. She glanced at her friend Dee. Was Dee jealous? Maybe. Linda didn't care. She was tired of waiting for Thomas. She took Marc's hand and went to the bar. They drank a little, danced, and laughed. Linda felt excited. At first, she wanted to make Thomas notice her. She hoped he'd show up, see her with Marc, and change his ways. But Thomas was late, and Marc was charming. Her feelings grew stronger. She liked being around him. Thomas's friend Jeff, who had just moved to town, came over. He and Thomas went way back. Jeff looked worried. He asked Linda to stop. He said it would hurt Thomas deeply. Linda didn't listen. She thought she knew her husband better. They'd been married 5 years. Thomas would forgive her, she told herself. She'd make it up to him later. She told Jeff to leave her alone. Later, Linda went with Marc to his fancy house. It was huge, with shiny marble floors and big mirrors. There were lion statues by a fountain outside. It was impressive, but too much. Linda didn't love it. She'd learned about simple, tasteful style from Thomas. Marc's home felt showy. They spent time together, but it wasn't what Linda expected. She felt uneasy. When she looked in a mirror, she didn't like what she saw. This wasn't the happy moment she wanted. She felt empty and wished she hadn't come. Linda felt trapped with Marc. He wasn't kind like Thomas. She missed her husband and son, Patrice. What was I thinking? She wondered. Tears filled her eyes. She asked Marc to stop, but he didn't listen. Soon he left her alone in the bedroom. Linda looked for her purse to call someone Thomas D., anyone. She wanted to leave, but her purse was gone. She felt stuck. She needed a bathroom, but had to wait. It was uncomfortable. She cried quietly, then pulled herself together. Linda went downstairs to find a phone. Marc was asleep. She tried to wake him, but he wouldn't move. Frustrated, she cried again. His phone was locked. She couldn't find another way to call. The house was quiet, and it was too dark to go outside. Tired and upset, Linda put on her dress and slept on the couch. She decided to wait until morning to talk to Thomas and ask for forgiveness. In his dream, Thomas heard loud noises. They turned into a game where he was winning. Then the dream shifted. He was surfing on a beach in Brazil, laughing with friends. His phone rang, waking him up. It was an unknown number. He ignored it. It was 7:13 a.m. He tried to sleep again, but the phone rang once more. "Thomas?" a soft voice said. It was Linda. He was tired and confused. The cold, dark room made him feel worse. Memories of the night before flooded back. "Thomas?" she whispered again. Anger rose in him. "My name is Thomas, not Tom," he shouted. "What do you want?" He had never yelled at her before. He always called her kind names like honey or my love. Linda's heart sank. She felt scared and guilty. "I'm sorry," she said. "I came home, but I forgot my purse and keys." "I knocked, but you didn't hear." Linda shivered outside. She had borrowed a stranger's phone while they walked their dog. "It's cold," she said. "Can you open the door?" Thomas' voice was sharp. "No, stay out there." He heard her cry. It gave him an idea. "Come back in 15 minutes. Don't knock. Patrice is sleeping." Linda tried to speak, but he hung up. Thomas got dressed quickly. He gathered a few things by the door. Linda walked up the steps in her dress and heels, looking cold and messy. Snow covered the ground. Thomas watched her through the window. She looked tired and upset. He grabbed his camera, a fancy one he rarely used. He took clear pictures of her to keep as proof. He opened the door, snapped photos, then locked it again. He checked the pictures. They showed everything he needed. He opened the door again. Linda frowned. "Why did you take those?" she asked. "Proof for the divorce," Thomas said coldly. "I have videos from the club and the driveway camera. He'll get custody of Patrice." Linda's eyes widened. "Divorce? Custody? Thomas, please." "It's Thomas, not Tom," he snapped. "Show me your left hand." She raised it, trembling. Tears fell down her face. Thomas saw her wedding ring, dirty from the night. He took a paper towel with sanitizer and pulled the ring off. "You didn't even take it off last night," he said, voice hard. Linda looked down, ashamed. "He wouldn't let me," she whispered. Thomas shook his head. "I don't know who's worse, you or him." He placed the ring on the steps. He picked up a hammer and smashed it. The gem broke and the gold bent. He tossed it into the driveway. Linda gasped, crying harder. "Why?" she sobbed. "That was your grandmother's ring. I wanted Patrice to have it one day." "You ruined it." Thomas felt a wave of anger. He was upset not just about the ring, but about what it meant to his family. The ring was special, a family heirloom worth a lot of money. It had been passed down for generations. Linda had no idea about its history. Thomas knew, but he didn't care to explain. "No, Linda, you ruined that ring. You disrespected it and everything it stood for when you let that guy spill on it. Now, please leave my house." He turned and shut the door. Linda knocked on the door. "Thomas, please. This is my home, too." He opened the door just a little, keeping the chain on. "That's not what the paperwork says." "Let me see Patrick, please." "After what happened last night, you need to show respect. First, learn your husband and your child's name. It's Patrice, for goodness sake. And no, you can't come in or see your child right now." She felt a wave of fear. "Why do you need to meet Jeff?" "To prepare for divorce." Linda's legs felt weak, and she had to hold on to the railing. Thomas, please tell me you're just upset." Tears filled her eyes. "Please don't leave me. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Please forgive me." "I'm sorry doesn't fix things, Linda." "You want to talk? Let's talk. Last night was supposed to be our special night, but you brought your friends along. Then you embarrassed me in front of them on Valentine's Day. We were supposed to celebrate an important deal that could change our lives, but you ruined it because I had to go out for a drink with a client. Their flight was late. What was I supposed to do about that? You always let your jealousy take over. I've suggested getting help so many times. I used to think it was just a part of you, but last night was too much. You listened to that friend who feeds you bad ideas about how men are. So, you did something foolish. Yes, I was late. I never cheated, Linda," Thomas said, his voice sharp. "And that contract? It was worth $5 million. For us. For you, me, and Patrice. Tax-free because the company's in Dubai. I wanted to share it equally. That was my surprise last night. I bet your new friend doesn't make that much. Was he worth it? Did you make the right choice leaving me for him? Linda's eyes widened. She felt ashamed. He's not my boyfriend, she said quietly. It was a mistake. He wasn't kind like you. Thomas's face hardened. You don't get to call me honey anymore. If it was a mistake, that's your lesson. Did you think it would be a perfect night with a perfect guy? He laughed bitterly. Life isn't a fairy tale, Linda. He paused, then softened. I shouldn't have insulted your family. They're good people. But you acted poorly last night. You disappointed them. Go away now. Come back tomorrow. Maybe he'll listen then. Stay with your parents or Dee. Goodbye. He closed the door. Linda knocked again. Thomas, I don't have my phone, she said. Should I call Dee or your parents? He asked. Dee, please, she replied, her voice small. I'm too ashamed for my parents. Thomas shook his head. I felt ashamed too, leaving the club last night. He dialed her father on speakerphone. Thomas, is something wrong? Her father asked. He was a kind electrician, wise and caring. He and Thomas respected each other, even if they were both quiet men. Yes, Dad, Thomas said. It's not good. Linda was unfaithful last night. I was late because of the weather. When I got to the club, she was drinking and dancing with another man. She left with him. She's at the door now, but she lost her purse, wallet, and phone. She was outside without a coat. Her clothes were messy, and she didn't have her wedding ring. I wouldn't let her in my house to see my son like that. I told my dad to come get her before she got too cold. There was silence. Dad, are you there? Thomas, are you joking? Do I sound like I'm joking? Would you like to see the photos and videos? Maybe I should send them anyway. No, son, that won't be necessary. I can be there in 20 minutes. Please let her inside. It's really cold outside. What? Show her kindness when she didn't show me any last night? I wish I could be as good as you. I'm sorry, Dad, but I'll make sure she stays warm. With that, he hung up. Linda was sitting on the steps, shaking and crying. What were you thinking last night? I said. I grabbed some items behind the door, warm socks, winter boots, a coat, jeans, and a bag of clothes I had quickly packed. Put these on and stay away from me. See you tomorrow, or maybe never. Tom? But I shut the door, and she kept crying. I leaned against the door and took a deep breath. I could still hear her sobbing. I peeked through the window. She had put on the clothes and was sitting on the steps, still shivering. I opened the door again. Linda looked hopeful, but I silently handed her a banana and a thermos of coffee before shutting the door again. About 20 minutes later, I watched as she unsteadily walked to her dad's truck, and they drove off. I then went to the kitchen, turned on my coffee maker, and started a cappuccino. It was the one nice thing I had kept from before. It was a special edition given to me by someone from the company. That Saturday morning, making coffee didn't help my mood. I stared at a framed photo of our wedding and almost threw it out the window, but I didn't feel better. Burning her wedding dress in the fireplace while filming it didn't calm me down either. Dee sent a crying emoji and apologized, begging me to forgive Linda. I replied that she could keep her advice to herself. In another message, I added that I felt the same way about other sports teams. She texted that they wouldn't press charges if I forgave Linda. I didn't reply. It seemed too silly to even consider. Looking out the window, I noticed light snow starting to fall again. I remembered my vivid dream of surfing and suddenly knew what I needed to do. He grabbed his laptop and passports for both him and his son. Then he logged onto Expedia. He booked 2 round-trip business-class tickets to Sao Paulo, Brazil for that night with a stop in Newark. They needed to leave the house by 7 p.m., be at the airport by 7:30, and their flight to Newark would leave at 8:30. They would land there at 9:30, and then leave for Sao Paulo at 11:30 p.m., arriving the next morning at 9 a.m. local time. It would take another 3 hours by taxi, or maybe he would rent a car. In just over 30 hours, they would be at the beach, where he planned to teach Patrice how to surf. He had plenty of time to talk to Jeff, sign any paperwork he needed, pack, and get to the airport. He didn't intend to use the return tickets, but he knew that a father and son buying last-minute one-way tickets to a foreign country might raise some eyebrows. He paid for the tickets with a different credit card, one linked to a trust account that the IRS had no control over. He smiled, recalling how much he had enjoyed his time in the U.S. He appreciated working with Americans. They were direct, practical, and had a hopeful outlook, something different from the Europeans he had dealt with in the past. He would miss that. But leaving the U.S. meant he could cut ties with the IRS and his complicated financial setup. Good riddance to both the IRS and Linda, he thought. But deep down, he knew he cared for Linda, and leaving her would be painful. No, she had separated from him first. A little later, Patrice woke up and asked, "Dad, where's Mommy?" "Mommy is out with a friend. Patrice, we are going to Brazil tonight to see the place where I grew up. Just the two of us. Mommy will join us later, okay?" He hated to lie to his son, but there was no way he would leave his boy behind to be raised by Linda, who he felt wouldn't have the time or resources to care for him the way he wanted. "Okay, can I watch Trash Truck?" "Sure, buddy. You can watch it all day today. Let me fix you some breakfast." With that, Thomas started getting things ready. Around 11 a.m., Jeff arrived with his assistant Emily to act as a witness and notary, just in case. While Jeff was not a family law expert, he understood the basics and had a copy of the prenup he had helped Thomas arrange years ago. "Thomas, this prenup is clear. If she gives you a reason for divorce, the house is yours since it was yours before your marriage," he assured Thomas. "You own the house and both cars. They belong to you. She gets custody of your child, and you need to pay child support and alimony because your income is higher. However, she doesn't have any rights to your assets, whether that's local property or the trust. You've always kept your finances separate, so she only has what she brought into the marriage. She often struggles with money. She doesn't earn much and has student loans. It's not a huge amount, but it adds up. Plus, she isn't good with money. She has a small retirement fund and maybe $1,000 in her bank account. I send her some money each month, and she uses my credit cards. I don't mind too much. Nurses generally make more money working in hospitals than in clinics. Anyway, Emily, could you give us some privacy?" They waited for her to leave. "Jeff, I am flying to Brazil with Patrice tonight." "No." "Yes. That country won't allow a parent living abroad to take a minor away. I care for my son more than she does. I can provide for him. She is the one who cheated. I don't care what the law says. I will spend all my money if that's what it takes, but I don't think it will come to that." "Have you thought this through?" "Yes. Please prepare the separation papers for me to sign today. I want to leave it for you to give to her. Also, I need a power of attorney for you to hire a lawyer to manage the divorce and represent me. Just don't file for divorce until I say so. And please don't tell her where I am. I'll cancel her credit cards today." "What about the house?" "A locksmith will arrive shortly." "Jeff, I want the house donated to charity, any charity, before 10 a.m. on Monday. Can you make that happen? It has to be done before she can do anything to stop it. I ask for two things in return: a security person at the door, and she can only take her personal belongings, not the furniture. This house is worth around $400,000. That won't make a difference." "I know, Thomas. I'm just saying you could give it to her." "Why are you defending her? You were there, you know what happened. Let her friend take care of her." "I'm not defending her, sorry. I was there and it was awful. I'm glad you weren't, or you'd be in a lot of trouble." Thomas laughed. "There's a charity that supports women who have experienced domestic violence and offers them safe places to stay. Emily knows the directors. She might be able to talk to them today. I can set up a title company for Monday morning. No mortgage, no checks to clear, and no liens. It should be straightforward. Even if they can't live in this house anymore, they can sell it and use the money to buy another one somewhere else. Linda will be here tomorrow morning. She'll be upset when she sees no one is home. Let her worry for a bit, then text her to meet you in your office on Monday, all right? Not tomorrow. Just Monday, please. Jeff, she hurt me deeply. Let her have her day to be upset. It's only fair. It's about her son, Thomas. You're separating a mother from her child. So, I don't think that's fair at all. Honestly, it feels pretty harsh. But I know you're hurting, and I witnessed what she did to you. I'm your friend above everything else since our days at Oxford. I'll help you with whatever you need, as long as it doesn't get me in trouble." For the first time since everything began, Thomas let a tear fall. Since Oxford. The weight of those words hung silently between them. Did you talk to her? What was she like? Was she drunk or on something? Because I'd understand that part. No. Then what was going through her mind? Thomas, I don't know. And do you really want to dig into that? Thomas sighed. No, not really. Jeff, you know me. I can't be that person. I can't be harsh, but right now I feel like I have to be. I did so much for her. I dealt with her jealousy, her fear of flying, her unwillingness to travel. I put up with her narrow-minded friends and even her bad taste in furniture. And this is how she repays me? It's maddening. Thomas, I didn't think you had that kind of language in you, Jeff said with a teasing tone. Come on, Jeff. You think you're better than me? He mimicked an accent. If she'd had better taste and gone after an athlete, maybe I could think about forgiving her. No, you wouldn't. Okay, you're right. I wouldn't. And stop pretending to be so picky. There's nothing wrong with football. But you might want to specify which one you're talking about. Am I that easy to predict? Yes, and you know you don't care for either. They stood up and hugged. Jeff kissed Thomas on the cheek, and Thomas held him tightly for a moment. Jeff and Emily used Thomas's office in the basement to organize and print the necessary papers. They ordered pizza for lunch and kept working. At 2 p.m., Thomas paused, packing for a conference call with the head of the charity he was donating the house to. The woman was confused and a bit skeptical, but they persuaded her, and in the end, she was very grateful. By the end of the day, Thomas packed 8 large suitcases, in total 2 for himself, 4 for Patrice's belongings, and 2 for various things he didn't want to leave behind, including his coffee maker. He would have to pay a large fee for excess luggage. He didn't mind. They sat down to sign everything and say their goodbyes. Jeff and Emily arrived in an Uber and left in 2 of Thomas's cars. They would sell the cars and use the money as a retainer. Jeff took the new house keys with him. Thomas looked around the living room and his favorite spot in the house, the kitchen. He felt sad to leave. It was a simple house, but it had a wonderful kitchen where he had shared many happy moments with someone he cared for. Tears came to his eyes. He closed the door behind him for the last time. Linda rode back to her parents' house in silence. What was there to say? Occasionally, she cried, and her father seemed unsure of how to comfort her. As they neared the house, he asked, "Is it true?" "Yes." "Why?" "I don't know, Dad. I just don't know." She broke down in tears. "I messed things up. You are not a bad person. You are my daughter. But you made a big mistake. Just hope that you can fix it. There is no one better than him, and you hurt him. No one can take that lightly. He'll leave you to talk with your mom." He dropped Linda off, claiming he had work to do. In reality, he wanted some distance. He sent Thomas a message, apologizing for his family's actions. He was wise not to offer to discuss things or ask for forgiveness. Thomas would decide if or when to forgive. Her mother fed Linda and listened as her youngest daughter shared her story. It wasn't easy for Linda. The mother tried not to judge but couldn't hide her disappointment, not just in Linda's choices but also in Dee and Jane's influence, and certainly not in Linda's failure to see Dee for who she really was. "But Mom, Dee is my friend. She believed he was cheating on me." "Linda, a real friend supports you, protects you, and helps you see the truth. If she was truly your friend, she would recognize how great a husband Thomas is, how smart, hard-working, and destined for success he is. The idea of him cheating is absurd. If Dee cared for you, instead of being jealous, she would see how much he loves and cares for you. That man is there for you. If Dee were your friend, she would encourage you to love and support him, not betray him. Instead, she is selfish and narrow-minded. She envies you because, with her shallow thinking, she could never win someone like Thomas. So she fills your head with doubts, and you believe her. She is not your friend, Linda. How many times do I have to say this? Your dad? Thomas? Just think about it." Linda just cried. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know, Mom. He told me to come back tomorrow." He didn't want Patrice to see me like this. And he was right. "You look terrible." "Please, Mom. I already feel bad." There were no harsh words in the house, but her mom started first, so they were even. "You need to take a shower and change your clothes. Throw this dress away." Linda looked up. Do I have to? I thought I could wear it with thee. Yes, you do. I don't want to see it again, and I doubt your husband wants to either. Are you on birth control? Linda's eyes widened. I will take that as a no. You really weren't thinking. You know how we feel about life and having children, but the last thing you need right now is an unexpected baby from someone you barely know. We'll go to the pharmacy and get some emergency contraception right away, and this stays between us two. Not a word to anyone, especially not your father. Linda nodded, wiping her tears. And then we will go to a clinic to get you tested for anything else, Linda gasped. Mom, do you really think? Linda, a football player chose a random woman at a club. You need to be careful. You will get tested as many times as necessary. Oh no! That's the last time you get to say that in this house. Sorry, Mom. Where's your wedding ring? Thomas took it. She didn't want to say more. That's not good. Just pray he cools down by tomorrow. Linda and her mom came back from the clinic after 4 in the afternoon. She had a late lunch and early dinner combined and went to her room. The doctor had given her a daily medicine to help her relax and sleep for a month, and she took 1 pill. Still, she cried. Her older sister, Carol, walked by and saw her as she headed to the bathroom. Coming down the stairs, Carol asked her mom what was wrong and got a chilly reply. It's between her and her husband. Stay out of it. Carol quickly texted Thomas. She always thought he was too fancy and too nice. Now he had really messed up. Thomas, a Brazilian who had Belgian and Swedish parents, wanted everything to go smoothly at check-in. So he showed all their documents at the airline counter. His Brazilian, Belgian, and Swedish passports, his U.S. green card, and his son's American, Brazilian, and Belgian passports. When asked, he said he was taking his son to see family in Brazil, and the American mother would join them a few days later. He checked his WhatsApp in the Newark Business Lounge while waiting for his long flight to Brazil. He saw an angry message from Carol, Linda's older sister. Carol had seen Linda crying at their parents' house. Without any explanation, she assumed, like any caring sister would, that something was wrong with Linda's husband. Carol had reached out to friends and family, many of whom also knew Thomas and Linda, so he received some accusing and curious messages too, even one from a friendly neighbor. This only made Thomas more upset. He refused to be seen as the bad guy. He opened his computer and wrote a 1-page memo explaining his side of the story. He wrote politely and neutrally, but he was clear about why he felt he needed to speak out. He wanted to stop Carol's gossip. He attached photos Jeff had sent him of Linda and her new boyfriend at the bar, dancing and showing affection. He added images of Linda looking upset the next morning. He included close-ups of her marks and stains on her dress. Finally, he uploaded videos of her dancing, leaving the club and getting home to a file online, creating view-only links to share. What started as a simple page of text grew into over 10 pages with all the added pictures and videos. He saved everything as a PDF and sent it via WhatsApp and email to everyone he thought should know: Linda's sister, parents, relatives, her church group, her boss, and their friends. He even posted some of the photos and links on social media accounts for Mark and Linda. He thought for a moment and decided to send it to the local newspaper, too. Why not? To Carol, he added a message saying he didn't want to hurt her sister, but she had pushed him to do this. He felt a sense of satisfaction, picturing the trouble Linda would face the next day. There were still some tasks he needed to finish. He wrote an email to his boss, resigning from his job right away. He kindly asked his boss to refer to the same PDF he shared with everyone else when explaining his departure. He knew he would miss out on the commission from the deal since he wouldn't be there to complete it. He also emailed his accountant to start the process of ending his U.S. tax and residency status, effective March 1, 2025. He felt a sense of relief. A part of his life was closing. It wasn't how he had hoped it would be, but it was done. He closed his laptop, took his son's hand, and walked to the boarding gate. He slept well in the comfortable business class seats. He woke up briefly during the night because of some bumps, and he thought about the harsh emails and texts he had sent. He regretted those. That was not who he wanted to be. His parents had raised him better. His mother, who always thought highly of herself, would have commented that he got what he deserved for marrying someone she didn't approve of. It felt unfair. Linda's parents were down-to-earth people, much better than some from his mother's social group. Until 2 days ago, Linda had seemed genuine, too, but that didn't matter anymore. The coming days would be hectic. He needed to find someone to clean the house, hire a nanny for Patrice, look for a kindergarten, buy a car, and get insurance. He wondered if his dad's old Land Rover was still there. He planned to call his friend to see if he could buy it back and maybe fix it up. That was something to look forward to. Fortunately, he had not let his local driver's license expire, and his local bank account was still active. Then he remembered he still needed to cancel the joint credit cards with Linda. He had a lot to do. He was not finished yet. Sleep, Thomas. Rest and save your energy. Linda and her mother arrived at Thomas's house at 10 a.m. on a Sunday and knocked on the door. There was no answer, no sound, and all the lights were off. Linda tried the garage door code, but it didn't work. She felt a little anxious, but pushed it aside. She tried to stay positive. Maybe they went out for breakfast. Her mother worried, but didn't show it. Let's grab a coffee somewhere and come back later. At the coffee shop, Linda got an idea. Mom, can I call Dee? Her mother looked uncertain. Why? They had both agreed earlier that Linda would cut ties with her old school friends. It's not what you think. Maybe Dee has my purse with my keys and my phone. I will call her. Her mother took out her phone. The coffee shop was quiet, so she put the call on speakerphone and told Linda to be quiet. Mrs. Brown, I am so sorry. Stop right there, Dee. What kind of friend are you, encouraging Linda to betray her husband? Do you have her purse? Yes. We tried to give it to Thomas on Friday, but he didn't want it, so we kept it. And it didn't occur to you to bring it to us yesterday? Thomas was really upset and got into a fight with Dave and Phil. We thought it best to give him and Linda some time apart. Then, we saw his message this morning and... What message? Linda could not hold back. Hi, Linda. I'm really sorry. Let me send it to your mom. But her mother had already hung up and was busy checking her messages for the first time that morning. She scrolled through many notifications until she found the original message from Thomas. She handed the phone to her daughter and watched as Linda's expression changed from panic to deep sadness. The message ended with, Have a nice life, Linda. The phone rang and her mother answered. It was Carol, apologizing for starting this situation. Linda heard her mother become upset for the second time in her life. You shouldn't have gotten involved. It was a problem between them. Your sister hurt that good man, and now everyone knows. I'm stuck choosing sides between your sister and Thomas, who is a decent guy. Thanks for that. It's best if you don't come over. She hung up. He left me, Mom. It seems that way. And he took Patrice. Yes. Mrs. Brown called Dee again, telling her to come to the house. We need that purse and those keys now. And after that, Linda won't need to see you again. But the keys didn't work, and that took away Linda's last bit of hope. To make things worse, neighbors had received Thomas' message and came out to see what was happening. Someone shouted an insult. Then others joined in. They got into their car and drove away. Jeff was there. Hez Thomas' friend. He knows. Linda had her phone now, but it was almost out of battery. She quickly called Jeff using her mom's phone. He answered, not recognizing the number. Hello? Jeff, thank goodness, it's Linda. Oh, hi, Linda. He sounded distant. Do you know where he is? Silence. Jeff, please, I feel terrible. I made a mistake. I can't get into my home. I don't know where my son is. I need to apologize to Thomas, please. I warned you. I know. I should have listened. All I can say is they are safe. Their plane just landed. Plane? What? Jeff, where did they go? Look, I've already told you more than I should. You need to come to my office tomorrow at 11 a.m. I have something to handle first. Then we can talk. Jeff, did you get his message? Yes. Why did he have to end things like that? I don't know. He was very upset yesterday. He had worked hard all week and was looking forward to something new with you. But then you did that. Linda, betrayal can be very hard on a person. A public betrayal on a special day? It's like you broke his trust in others, Linda. What were you thinking? You brought this on yourself. I've known Thomas since our first year in college, and I've only seen him this upset once before. He's been using words I never imagined someone like him would say. Lynn, why can't you tell me everything now, please? It wouldn't change anything, but I will respect his wishes. He is my client and my friend for life. I won't betray him. Linda Monday. What? He gave the house away. Who does something like that? Thomas. A hurt Thomas, to be precise. There's a lot about him that you don't know, Linda. For example, that ring he struck. He struck your ring? Yes. Linda, I'm disappointed. You need to realize the weight of your actions. That ring was a family heirloom passed down for 7 generations. That was Jeff speaking. He told me it belonged to his grandma. Not exactly a lie, but it also belonged to her mother, and her mother's mother, and so on. He never shared the ring's history with you? No. Could you? Despite everything, she felt an unexpected curiosity. Not my story to tell. Thomas is very private, Linda. Too private, if you ask me. Do you know where we went to college? She looked around the office, trying to discover clues. Jeff chuckled at her futile attempts. You won't find my degree on these walls, Mrs. Brown-Maziere. I'm a bit like Thomas. I prefer to stay out of the spotlight. She sighed in defeat. No, he only said it was in England. And his advanced degree? He had an advanced degree? She was shocked. You've been married to him for 5 years, and you didn't know he had one? Oh, no. You've lived with him for 5 years. You told me you knew him better than I did. What do you really know about him, Linda? Jeff was close to crossing the line, but he felt it was important for her to realize the truth. What was Thomas thinking, marrying someone so young? He studied in England. His parents died in an accident. He never got to say goodbye to them. His dad was from Belgium, his mother from Sweden, and he grew up in Brazil. No, he was born in Brazil. He studied computer science. Jeff smirked at this point. Then he went back to Brazil. He's very smart. GameCorp hired him, and now he's here because it pays better in the U.S. What's his full name? Thomas Maziere. Please, I know that. Right. That's what appears on the green card, just his first and last name, as the government can't handle different naming customs. Look, there are more gaps in that story than in Swiss cheese. It's hard to believe you never learned more about him. He held a grudge against you for that, you know. Your lack of interest in him. But he always wanted to talk about me and help me. And then when Patrick came, he was unhappy about that too. Patrick. Your son's name is Patrice, right? Until today, I didn't know he didn't like the way I called him them. Why didn't he tell me? Thomas is a private person. It's how he was raised. I just mentioned that. But he probably dropped hints, didn't he? You didn't catch on? Linda thought for a moment. Did he? He did, but she never noticed. The way he looked at her, often sad. When she talked about Dee or Jane, he wasn't fond of them. Or when she said Patrick, he quickly found a way to call him Patrice instead. Or during their close moments, she was just there while he did everything. Then he'd turn away from her. She would feel upset that he didn't hold her. It never occurred to her that he might be the one who had the right to feel upset. Could she have been that self-absorbed? And his caution. I think your friends mistook that for weakness. Exactly, she thought. Dee had mentioned he would forgive her like he always did. You might have mistaken his quiet nature for strength. Thomas is not strong. He is delicate, and not for the reasons you might think, and none of that false bravado your friend shared with me recently. You hurt him. Deeply. Who is he, Mr. Skinner? Please tell me. It's Dr. Skinner, and I won't share anything you didn't bother to ask him over 5 years. Thomas's story is his alone, but I can share a bit of mine, as you really upset me the other night. What did Thomas say about me? That you are good friends, that you divorced your British husband and returned to the U.S., and that I should get to know you because you are a good person. Jeff smiled warmly. He probably said spouse, not wife, right? I divorced my husband. Linda and her mother were taken aback. But you don't seem. I am a gay man, Linda. After the divorce I needed to escape from, him, my family never accepted who I am. So when I came back, I came here to be with Thomas. I arrived just in time to see you push him away. Jeff's voice shook. But Thomas is not. Oh, no, he's as straight as can be. I only wish. Linda's mother felt very uneasy. But he's the brother I never had. In my first year of school, I lived in a tough area. It was the only place I could afford. I was targeted. A boy tricked me and 3 others joined in to hurt me. Thomas saw it happen. He stood up to them and we ran off laughing. The police never caught us. I became his roommate. At that point, everyone on campus knew I was gay. Did Thomas care? Not at all. He never asked me for rent, knowing I didn't have much money. This made a big difference between being unhappy and having some fun. I lived with Thomas and his friends during college and grad school, through all the highs and lows. You claimed to know him better, yet you never asked anything. Linda was wiping her tears, feeling hurt by the accusations and the story. "That's my Thomas," she said softly. "He always puts others first. Jeff, I am so sorry for what I did to him and for what I told you. Just so you know, I will always support him. You let him down and you let me down," I responded. Her mother spoke up. "I see your point, Dr. Skinner, but how could our Thomas stand up to 3 or 4 boys?" That question caught Linda's attention. "He can defend himself. I don't think he would take on 3 at once, but he had a squash racket and could surprise them. At the club on Friday, I was supposed to keep you there until he showed up." Oh my God, Mark would have. "Caused serious injuries. Thomas could have been in deep trouble, and we would still be having this talk. In a way, it's good you left when you did." Linda covered her mouth in shock. "Can he really defend himself?" "Yes," I replied without saying more. "Moving on, here's a separation agreement. It's best if you sign it now, but you can take it to a lawyer first. There isn't much to debate since it's based on clear facts, and your assets will be divided according to the prenup." Linda was crying. "Remember, separation isn't divorce yet. I also need to hire a divorce lawyer to prepare and send you the divorce papers." Linda's crying turned into wailing. It took her a while to calm down. "Jeff, I don't want to divorce him. I want to say sorry. I messed up. Can you talk to him? Maybe you can help set up a meeting before we see the judge." "Linda, he has left the U.S. for good. He gave me power of attorney to handle this divorce for him." "But what about the counseling sessions? Judges usually require them." "I don't think he is interested. He will just pay any fines." Linda was getting angry. "But it is required, and I'll get custody. Linda, he is in Brazil." "So what? I still deserve custody." "Your son is a Brazilian citizen. A Brazilian minor cannot leave that country without consent from both parents. It's their law. Thomas informed me on Saturday, and I checked it. They examine every minor's passport before allowing them to leave." "I will get a court order." "From a U.S. court? It won't hold any value there. As an American in Brazil, dealing with the Brazilian father of a Brazilian citizen, you won't get far." He noticed how sad she looked and softened his tone. "I'm sorry, Linda." But she kept crying. "I may never see my son again. How can he be so unfeeling? I thought he was a good person." Her mother held her close. "Linda, I'm his lawyer and also his friend. He's not unkind. He's the best person I know. He must be hurting badly. There are things that happened to him. I warned you that your actions would hurt him deeply. Right now, he is not himself. The Thomas I know would never say the things he said to you. It's not like him. You really upset him." He smiled a little. "Why are you smiling?" she asked. "At my words. Forget it. I'm sorry. Do you want to get your son back or do you want to get Thomas back?" "Both. I need them both. That awful night with that horrible man showed me that. Ugh, I hate myself. I need Thomas." She started crying again. "Oh, God, please." Her mother let her cry, and Jeff thought the scene was one of the saddest he had ever seen, right next to his own breakup and a terrible event in Oxford. He took a deep breath and reached out his hand across the table. The lawyer Jeff just left. The Jeff who is here sees a wife and mother who truly regrets her choices. This Jeff is Thomas' friend and knows he's suffering too. My advice, hire a good lawyer, not a mean one. Maybe someone from your church. Look over the separation papers, sign them, and don't rush into anything. Separation is not divorce. Don't make him more upset. Talk to your friends about dropping their complaints." "What complaints?" "Thomas hurt your friends' husbands on Friday night. They ended up in the hospital with injuries. At first they didn't say who did it, but last night they finally decided to press charges. Ask them to withdraw the charges for the sake of your marriage, as a kind gesture. Mrs. Brown? Perhaps you could help with that." The woman was glad to help. She thought those men got what they deserved. "Then give him some time and maybe he will come around. The house and cars are gone, but I'm sorry for that. You still have your job, and I believe your parents can support you, right? Yes. You can pick up your personal things from the house this week, but not the furniture. Just call this woman first. He handed her a card. Linda, it may take some time. I'm his attorney, so I have to follow his wishes, but I can also be persistent. Please be patient. She started crying again. I miss my son. I can't imagine how that feels. I'm really sorry. Please stay strong. You can't rush things. Oh, and Linda, if I hear of any strange behavior, I will personally deliver your divorce papers. Jeff and Thomas. A while later, Jeff. Thomas, I had Linda and Mom in the office. For what it's worth, I think she truly feels regret. Thomas, and? Jeff, I just thought you should know. Thomas, what I need to know is, did you send the separation papers? Jeff, yes, waiting. Thomas, 3 months later. Jeff, Thomas, can you talk? Thomas, sorry, just texting. It's loud here. Jeff, it's about Linda. She tried to hurt herself. Pause. Jeff's phone rang. How? Thomas. Jeff, how? Good to see you still care. Of course I care, Jeff. She's the mother of my child. How? I can hear how noisy it is where you are. A couple of birds and a gentle breeze. Are you at your beach house? Yes. I'm feeling awful and didn't want to talk. Happy? Now please, what happened? Her mother found her trying to swallow a bottle of pills, but she got her to spit most of them out and make her vomit. She still took enough to be out for a day and a half. Why does she need those pills? To help her relax and sleep, Thomas? I guess you didn't know? Why would I know anything? She cheated and left me. I stopped keeping track. Thomas, stop that. She's not just someone who made a mistake. She had real struggles. You never gave her a chance to explain. You made her an outcast, took her son away, and now she's suffering. She lost her job and misses you and Patrice. She hardly leaves her house. Why did she lose her job? Dr. Alburn is the head of a local group that helps doctors follow their beliefs. Oh, no. Exactly. Doesn't the Bible teach kindness? Like how you treated her? Thomas grumbled. Enough, Jeff. Why are you getting on my case today? Because you said you wouldn't be that kind of person. It's been 3 months. She's out of work, living on support in her old bedroom. You won't end the marriage and let her go, but you won't take her back either, and she can't see her son. She doesn't go out or have any money. She's cut herself off from her friends. Finally, it took her being married to see they weren't worth it. As for money, she can divorce me. I won't fight alimony. That way, she won't need support. She won't ever divorce you, Thomas. She wants you back. I think she's been through enough. I'm still hurting, Jeff. So who are you to judge? He raised his voice. Oh, but Sir Blue Blood is having a hard time at his beach villa. He spends his morning surfing, looks at the sun during the day, plays video games and chess with his child all afternoon, watches the sunset each evening, and enjoys drinks at night. He has someone to clean the house and someone else to cook. It's a place that feels like summer forever. Meanwhile, Linda is waiting for unemployment money and can't pay her student loans. Thomas, be fair. I knew your family and I know you. And you know you're all better than this. It's morning, not evening, you fool. It's the Atlantic. And don't bring my family into this. He ended the call. He took a deep breath and called back. I'm sorry, you're right. Thomas, I've seen her. She's not doing well. I think she really feels bad. She misses you. I don't think she's like... Thomas interrupted. Is she feeling bad for what she did or just for what happened after? Can you really separate those? Outside of some fancy school class? No, I guess not. She wants me to send you an email from her. I told her I would check with you first. Thomas thought for a moment. It would be too hard. No. Thomas, she called Mark foolish or something. But back to my point, please show her some kindness. He sighed. All right, what can we do? Are you ready to come back? Not a chance. Besides, I can't go back to the U.S. until the IRS says it's okay. Well then, I have some ideas. Patrice got an iPhone the next day, along with an iCloud account and FaceTime. He was so happy. The only rule his dad made was that the iPhone would always stay in his bedroom. Thomas didn't want Linda to see their home or where they lived. He also turned off the phone location function for the same reason. Jeff let Linda know he was able to get the boy's phone number from the housekeeper, as well as Thomas' schedule. She could FaceTime Patrice whenever Thomas was out, being careful about time zone differences. She needed to be cautious since Thomas hadn't forgiven her. He would be very upset if he found out she was talking to Patrice. Linda wondered why a 4-year-old needed a phone. Jeff said they were working on a video game together. She was very grateful to Jeff for his help and felt her nerves ease as she called her son for the first time. She always remembered to call him Patrice. 10 days later, Linda had been looking for jobs constantly since she lost her position. She hadn't had much luck. First, her old boss had not given her a letter of recommendation, and second, people remembered her bad reputation. Her boss was very strict in his beliefs, but that did not stop him from pursuing every female worker at the clinic. Linda never gave in, and now he was getting back at her by telling future employers about her past. Linda had tried everything to find work, even taking night shifts in the emergency room. What did she have to lose? Meanwhile, her parents were getting more upset with Thomas. They thought his punishment was too harsh for a young woman who showed she was sorry for her mistakes. Linda was angry too. She felt frustrated with herself for her past choices. She was upset with her old friends for not being real friends. She was mad at Thomas for not giving her a second chance and for taking care of their son. Yes, Thomas had always spent more time with Patrice, but she was the one working. Nurses had demanding jobs. Their deal had been that she would give him a child before she was truly ready, and he would take care of him. Linda regretted everything. Thomas had every right to leave, but he didn't need to hurt her like this. She felt bitter toward Marc Lavaliere, too. He was not a gentleman or a prince. Linda felt she had made poor choices, just as Thomas had pointed out. Unlike Marc, who faced no consequences, Linda dealt with unwanted attention and hurtful comments. She often heard terrible things like, "Send her to me when you are done with her, and now that her husband is gone, let's take her out." Marc seemed to come out fine, getting only encouragement from his male friends. Linda missed Thomas. She thought about old moments they shared and regretted the chances she had to connect with him better. She daydreamed about the sweet things she could do for him if he ever gave her another opportunity. Breakfast in bed, running her fingers through his hair, holding hands in public. She knew he liked those things, but she hadn't let him have them. She wanted to hug him just because she loved him. This feeling wasn't something she invented. She truly loved him. However, she now realized that she hadn't been as committed to him as he had been to her. Their marriage had never felt balanced, even before her mistakes. She wished she could find a way to tell him how she felt and admit her shortcomings. But she had no way to contact him. He wouldn't read her email. All of this made her feel hopeless, and she even tried to hurt herself. But her mother found her in time and told Dr. Jeff Skinner. She hoped he would let Thomas know somehow. None of this helped Linda find a job. So, when she got invited for an interview at a hospital on the far side of the city for a day position in care for patients in a coma, she didn't expect much. Daytime nursing positions were hard to get, and she hadn't even been able to land a night job in the emergency room. Who would hire her? Still, she went for the interview. They told her they had new funding for staff and equipment and offered her a job after 2 interviews in the same day. Suddenly, in just over a week, her luck changed. She was talking with her son, and she had a job in a place where people didn't know her. She didn't have a car for the long drive, but Jeff gave her some money to buy an old one. "Thank you, Jeff." She texted him on her first day, hoping not to disappoint him. "I won't," he replied. "Jeff? I miss him, we both do. It's not the same, I know." A week later, Jeff ran into Mr. and Mrs. Brown on the street near his office. They were on their way to a medical appointment, and he had just come out of a coffee shop. He asked them how Linda was doing and got a quick update. They appreciated his support in helping Thomas connect through video calls with their grandson, and they thanked him for the loan for the car. However, everyone in the household was quite unhappy about Thomas' behavior and absence. Jeff thought about their words and invited them to his office after their appointment if they could. He needed to find a way to change their view of Thomas without going against his wishes. Thomas was his client, and this situation could still lead to legal issues. But it had been months. The divorce petition was ready, and Thomas had ignored him. He decided to take the chance and knew just how to do it. Linda's parents came in, and he offered them coffee. He had the same coffee maker as Thomas, and they recognized it. They liked that coffee. He placed a single-page agreement in front of them. I want to share some things about your son-in-law. He has been my friend since we attended Oxford over 12 years ago. Oxford? Yes, Oxford. But that is all I will say unless you sign this. Linda is becoming friends with me, and I hope you will too. Thomas always believed that you two were some of the most honest and hardworking people he had ever known. I trust Thomas completely. I can see you are both in pain. I can help you, but you need to know that Thomas is my first priority as my client, and I can't break that promise. This paper is a non-disclosure agreement, which has serious consequences if you share what he'll tell you today. If you agree to this, we can try to give them another chance. They signed the agreement and started to talk. Linda got out of the taxi and paid with her credit card. She quickly thought about the cost. Run $500 was about just $300 for a 3-hour ride, covering around 290 kilometers, $1 per kilometer. It was surprising they didn't ask for tips. While it was a lot of money, she really couldn't afford it. Using Google Translate, she asked the driver to stop a little way from the house. He helped her with her bag from the trunk, and after she gave him a small cash tip in US dollars, he wished her good luck in his broken English. As she pulled her large bag toward the house, she felt the hot sun on her skin. She took a moment to look at the tropical surroundings, the deep blue ocean ahead, and the beautiful house to her right. It blended modern wood design with the classic Portuguese style that she learned was common in the area. The property had a lovely lawn with plenty of shade. She noticed a living room with a large glass wall that opened fully onto a covered porch. The connection was smooth, with lots of glass that made the living room feel open, even though she was a bit too far away to see the details inside. 2 cars were parked in the short driveway, an old Land Rover, boxy like those seen in British films with the steering wheel on the left side. That seemed strange in Brazil. The other car was a small Chevy, similar to others she had seen on the beautiful yet risky road from the airport. This one had a big health services logo on the side door. No one had told Thomas she was coming. She thought about turning around many times on the way there. But here she was, and she missed her boys. Still, she hesitated. Suddenly, she felt a wave of nausea. Who would have thought the flight would be the easiest part? She took a deep breath and walked around the cars to the main door. Here goes nothing. Just as she entered, a young woman with dark hair walked out. The woman looked like a healthcare worker, and they exchanged looks that made it clear they were rivals. Linda closed the door behind her and spotted Thomas sitting in a fancy black chair facing away from her. The chair was quite old, but later she would find out it was a rare piece from the 1970s, and it was very valuable. The living room was impressive. One side opened to a porch and the ocean, while the other had a large wall of books. It was beautifully decorated with a kitchen area at the far end. The ceilings were high, and there was a nice breeze that made it feel much cooler inside, even without air conditioning. Although she would notice these details later, right now, she felt annoyed. "Thomas, who is that woman I just saw leaving?" she asked. Without turning or sounding surprised, he replied, "Linda, it seems your jealousy still needs some work. First, she is not just one label. She is a person. Second, if we're labeling, you're the outsider here. And third, just so you know, she is my physiotherapist who makes house calls. Now that you are here, can you help me up?" Feeling embarrassed, she said, "I'm sorry. This is not how I wanted to." He softened a bit. "I know. Just help me up." She walked around the chair and looked at him. He was tanned with longer hair than she remembered, sporting a short beard. He looked younger, thinner, and more fit, dressed in a white t-shirt and stylish shorts. He didn't have his glasses on. He wore an expensive-looking watch. This was a side of Thomas she hadn't seen before. Though he tried to seem relaxed, a hint of sadness was in his eyes. He had his arm raised, waiting for her to help. "Whenever you're ready." "Sorry." She pulled him up and noticed a cane nearby. She reached for it, but he said, "No, my therapist told me to stop using it. It's time to put weight on my leg again." He winced. "And to answer your unasked questions, yes, she is beautiful, she is interested in me, but I am done with relationships. They're too painful." It hit her. He was still hurting. As he slowly limped toward the kitchen, she followed him. "Forget it. Just give me the cane. I'll deal with it tomorrow." She handed it to him. "What happened to you?" she asked. "Do you see that path on the other side of the house?" "It leads down to the beach. 3 months ago, it was raining, and I was coming back with my surfboard. I was tired and slipped. The board hit my leg. If it had been a bit more to the left, I could have hurt myself badly." He showed her the scar. "I'm counting the days until I can surf again. I'm sorry. It's not your fault." "Where is Patrice?" Thomas noticed she called their son by the right name. She still needed to work on her accent, though. "Hez at kindergarten. He'll be back at 3:30. "Where are your glasses?" "I had laser surgery, but they couldn't fix it all. I still can't see far away, but I don't need them at home, and I can surf and bike." "Good. You always wanted that." She watched as he made 2 large coffees and carefully cut a large fruit in half, took out many black seeds, sprinkled some granola and honey on them, and placed 1/2 on each plate with a spoon. "I can only use one hand. Can you bring the rest?" He took his mug and walked with a limp to the dining table on the porch. She sat down and hesitantly tried the fruit. She had never tasted anything so good. Suddenly, she realized how hungry she was and ate it quickly. "What is this?" "Papaya." "You've never had it?" "I missed your coffee." "It's the same machine. I brought it with me." "How did you get here so early?" "The flight from Newark doesn't land until after 9 a.m. It's 9:15. "I came from Miami. My dad drove me there." "Right. That flight arrives early. I see you've overcome your fear of flying." "That's why we drove to Miami. If I got scared in the air, at least I'd be there. I had to come." "Did you? Get scared?" "No. I focused on why I was doing it." "How did you find us?" "It was hard to search." "Jeff." "Yes. You could have told me you were coming. I'd have picked you up. I would have helped with your fare. I'm pretty sure you don't have much money. Taxis are expensive." Did he really mean it? He said it, but she wasn't so sure. "I was worried you'd leave again if you knew." "Linda, look around. I'm right where I want to be, right where I've always wanted to be. I'm not going anywhere." "But I had no way of knowing that or how to reach you." "You could have asked Jeff, and you talk to Patrice every day." "You know that?" "Of course. Who do you think set it up?" "What? Jeff told me." "Because I was still upset with you. But I couldn't stop you from talking to him. I was being unfair. I'm sorry. And yes, we're designing a game together." "Were you angry? Does that mean you're not anymore?" "I don't know how I feel. I get angry sometimes. There are moments when I think of you and I feel frustrated. But most of the time, I'm just like you see me now." "Linda, I still feel some resentment. I'm sorry, but I do. I think about how things could have been different if we hadn't married. 5 years you kept me away from here, for what? Nothing." "Don't say nothing, Thomas. It wasn't nothing." "What was it then?" "Thomas, I love you. And we have Patrice. Please. You love Patrice. Patrice is important." There was a quiet moment. "You look good, Thomas. Only outside." "Yes, I can see that." She reached for his hand, but he pulled back. She quickly apologized. "You don't look good, Linda. No offense. I know." Silence. "Is that my mom's ring on your finger?" "Yes." "I went back to get it from your driveway, but it's bent and scratched, and the ruby is gone. Can I see it?" He instinctively tried to take her hand, but she pulled it back and covered it with her other hand. "No, it's mine now. You threw it away. Finders keepers." "Sorry, I can't." "Please? Thomas, promise to give it back, please. I need this." She handed it to him, but only after a moment. He looked at it closely. She had used tools to fix it enough to wear and glue to hold the pieces of the ruby together. Some gold wires were sticking out. "It's dangerous. You could hurt yourself with this." "I won't. Give it back. I can have it repaired." "No." She jumped up and grabbed his hand. He was taken aback. "This is mine. I want it like this. It reminds me of the biggest mistake of my life, the night I lost everything I loved." "You have no right." She started crying, and he quickly handed her a napkin. She felt embarrassed for getting upset. He stood up slowly to get her a glass of water, giving her some space. By the time he returned, she had wiped her tears. They both felt awkward and looked down at the ocean. "Thomas, how do you pay for this place?" "No rent." "Mortgage, then?" "No mortgage. Whose is this?" "Are you taking care of it?" Thomas laughed softly. "This is Patrice's. I bought the land and built the house in his name to save on taxes. Remember my trips to Brazil the year he was born? The first year of COVID? It was hard to travel with all the tests. When Dee insisted I was having an affair here, she sensed the blame in his words. I was building this. I used to come here with my high school friends to surf. The owners rented the land as a camping spot. It goes from the fence behind the house all the way to the water, 50,000 square meters. That's about 10, 12 acres. Direct access to the public beach, so I don't have to drive to get there. The owner passed away and I bought it from her family and built the house. It was meant to surprise you. I wanted to ask you to move in here. But then you developed a fear of flying, so I decided to wait. I put everything in Patrice's name from the beginning. The older furniture belonged to my parents when they moved from Belgium and Sweden. The rest of it. I had a friend who is an architect. She gave me some help. Linda looked up. A friend who is a girl. So this belongs to Patrice? And the money. Did you get it from your parents? Some from them, and some I earned myself before. How come I never knew this? You never asked. Tears began to roll down her cheeks. Thomas, I made mistakes. Not just that night, but in many ways. I was selfish. I agree. He handed her another napkin. Thomas, I am really sorry. That's good to hear. Being sorry helps us learn. There was a pause. The breeze through the open living room was the only sound for a couple of minutes. Then he slowly stood up. Linda, listen. I'm glad you are here, and Patrice will be really happy. The thing is, I have trouble sleeping at night. You can guess why. In the morning, I struggle to get going, no matter how much coffee I have. I think I need to get some rest. You probably feel tired from the flight. You can take the guest suite. It's the first room on the left. Towels and bed sheets are in the closet. Have a shower, take a nap, go to the beach, eat more, or relax in the hammock. Do what you want. The Wi-Fi password is by the fridge. At 1 p.m. we will go into town. I'll swim at the gym, and we will pick up Patrice. Sound good? Welcome to Brazil. I'm glad you get to see this, even if the reason isn't what I wanted. With that, he left and locked himself in the master bedroom. What he said wasn't just an excuse. He really had trouble sleeping. He was barely holding it together and didn't want her to see him upset. 3 hours later, Thomas woke up. Jeff, I am thinking about firing my lawyer. Why? What kind of lawyer gives their client's address to the other side? Oh well, don't tell me you're not happy to see her. Did you pay for her ticket too? Nope, that was all her. She saved up money. She might have borrowed some. I think she still owes on her student loans. Please treat her kindly. I'm not going back, Jeff. Nobody is asking you to. Just give her a chance. Give yourself a chance. She's not the same person you left behind. I didn't leave. She left me. Potatoes? Potatoes? Thomas got out of bed, limped to the kitchen, ate a banana in 2 bites, looked at a somewhat nervous Linda, who was now wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and started to limp toward the car. Did you do anything? I showered and slept. You were right. Overnight flights are tough. That's why not many people travel to South America. It's far, but once you are here. Grab a fruit before we go. I will wait in the car. Linda easily caught up with Thomas, who walked slowly. She tried to help him into the Land Rover, but he struggled. His left leg was hurt and the car was British. Linda, you can drive while you are here. It's easier for me to get into the passenger seat. He noticed her worried expression. She looked around at the narrow streets and the busy drivers, and she had never driven a British car before. Don't worry, you'll get the hang of it quickly, he said. What kind of car is this? A 1980 Land Rover Defender. My dad got it from a friend who worked at the UK consulate here. I sold it to a friend, but now I bought it back. She glanced back and saw a booster seat for Patrice. Thomas, this car is old. You know I don't care for fancy cars, he replied. But I like this one. I plan to fix it up, but I haven't had the time. Thomas, I can see this is a fun car, and I don't want to argue, but what if you have an accident with Patrice? I've seen the roads here. It's clear you have some money. Can't you get a different car? One that's safer? Do they sell those around here? Thomas just grunted. 2 weeks later, a 4WD Subaru with 9 airbags appeared in the driveway. Linda wondered where he got the money for all this. A nice house, an old car. Thomas wasn't working, and she knew he didn't get the commission from Game Corp after he left. But Thomas made it clear he didn't want to talk about his finances further. They drove in silence along the coast toward downtown, and then Thomas took her to the gym. "I'm going to swim for an hour, and then we'll pick up the little boy. You must be eager to see him," he said. She nodded, unsure. "Why swimming?" she asked. She had never seen him swim, but she remembered he said he missed it. Their gym back in the U.S. didn't have a pool. "Well, since the accident, I can't surf, jog, walk, or bike. The only thing left is swimming. Honestly, I'm getting a bit tired of it. I need some variety. But Larissa says it'll be a few months before I can jog again. Do you want to explore the village or sit and watch?" The mention of that woman's name made Linda uneasy. "I'll sit and watch." The village looked charming, but she wanted to stay close to Thomas, the man she thought she knew well and missed deeply, especially since there was someone else in the picture. There was a viewing area with benches, so she sat and waited. She couldn't help but watch as he walked out of the locker room. Thomas was ready to jump into the pool, his light blonde hair shining against his sun-kissed skin. He was now without his shirt, showing off a fit and toned stomach. This was different. The Thomas she dated had always been in shape, but he never had that kind of look. Linda felt a surge of attraction. How had she chosen someone else over him? Thomas was so much more charming and appealing. Could she win him back? She wondered what he would be like in the water. She imagined he might be a bit silly if he had been goofing around instead of swimming. But then, he leaped into the pool with ease. He swam with smooth strokes, not stopping until he reached the end of the first lap. He flipped and took a breath at the halfway point of the second lap. He kept going, breathing after every sixth stroke, maintaining perfect form the whole hour. He kept swimming steadily, not slowing down at all. At the end of the hour, he got out of the pool, cleaned up quickly, and joined her at the benches. Linda was at a loss for words. "Where did you learn to swim?" she asked. "St. Paul's. I was on their swim team." "What's that?" "It's the same British school where Patrice will go." Linda frowned at his confident reply. "Just wait here. The children will come out soon. He'll let the school director know who you are and that he won't be taking the bus today. He'll be by the side. Let him have a surprise." Thomas watched from a distance as Linda hugged and kissed Patrice, who was crying in the schoolyard. He tried to stay composed, but a few tears slipped out, just like some of the teachers and parents who knew their story. On the ride home, mother and son chatted excitedly as they got to know each other again. Thomas drove, while they both wanted to sit in the back. For the rest of the day and into the night, Linda played with Patrice, leaving Thomas alone with his thoughts. He listened to his son teach Linda how to pronounce their names in French and Portuguese, noticing she struggled with some sounds. He almost chimed in to say she was doing okay, but decided not to. Linda took care of Patrice, making his lunch and school uniform and putting him to bed. Thomas thought she could handle it each night while she was in town. He sat in his favorite chair, listening to the chirping cicadas, reading a book about the Habsburgs, and enjoying a glass of wine. "Can I join you? Grab a chair and pour a glass, or do it the other way around?" There was a pause. "Your house is truly beautiful. The more I see it, the more I like it. Everything feels just right here." It felt like it was meant to be here, blending in with the beauty of nature outside. "It could have been yours," he said. "I miss you." She touched his shoulder, and after a moment he turned to her. "You used to have a spark of innocence, a little bit of naivety," he remarked. "Naivety?" She pulled her hand back. "I didn't mean it in a bad way. I like that about you, even if sometimes I had to bring you back down to reality from your daydreams. Now you seem more thoughtful and mature." "It hasn't been easy," she replied. His expression shifted to one of frustration. "No, please. I don't blame you, Thomas. It's all my doing." An uncomfortable silence fell between them. He pointed up at the stars. "Tomorrow is a full moon. He'll arrange for someone to look after Patrice, and we can go out to eat by the bay." Her heart raced at the thought, and he noticed. "This isn't a date, Linda. You traveled all this way, and it's not fair to let our differences keep us from enjoying this place. You need to see the beauty here. We'll go to the beach, too. You need to get some sun. If you stay this pale, you'll just shine like a flashlight. Help me up, please." The next day, Linda treated herself to delicious papayas and mangoes for breakfast. The fruits in this country were wonderful. "Where do you get these fruits?" she asked. "Did you see the fruit vendor at the entrance? There's a truck with a tent." "I talked to them a while back, and now they bring me a box of fresh fruit twice a week." "But don't they charge you too much?" she questioned. "Probably. But I haven't had bad fruit since I started this deal with them. They work hard. Just be careful with the fruits. You should add some protein, too." Linda loved the beach. She had been to Florida with Thomas, but the warm, breezy beaches of South Brazil were something special. For those few hours, she felt like a child again, forgetting her worries. Her happiness almost affected Thomas, too. He took pictures for her and let her take selfies with him, but he didn't smile. "You can't share those with anyone," he said. "Can I send them to my parents?" she asked. "Your parents, fine." They planned to return that weekend with Patrice for a boat ride to the islands. Thomas occasionally glanced at Linda. She had lost some weight. She had never been heavy, just a bit extra during her pregnancy that she never lost. It hadn't worried him then, but now she was slimmer, with a figure that came at a cost to her and to him and to their son. Later that afternoon, Linda drove alone to pick up Patrice and looked after him until dinner. Thomas did not complain. She felt nervous when they left for dinner, but Thomas reminded her it wasn't a date and that the place was very casual. He wore his usual outfit: shorts, a t-shirt, and sandals. The view was amazing. They were at the top of a mountain looking over the bay and the beach, shimmering under the light of the full moon. It felt magical. Thomas ordered a cold beer and fried shrimp with chunks of cheese and pineapple. Linda, not wanting to try something new, chose a dish she thought would taste familiar, despite Thomas's suggestions. When their food arrived, she felt disappointed and looked longingly at his plate. "Here, let's switch plates," he offered. "No, it's okay." "Linda, please, I can have this any day." She felt a bit embarrassed. "Thanks." "Why didn't you bring me here before?" he asked, looking a bit upset. She quickly apologized. "I know I was hard to deal with. If only I could go back." They mostly ate in silence. Back at the house, she helped him out of the car and gave him a light kiss on the cheek. "Thank you," she said. Thomas noticed she had fallen asleep in Patrice's bed, cuddling her son. Good for her, he thought. Days passed, and not once did Thomas ask when Linda would leave. Either he didn't care, or he was pretending not to. They did all sorts of family activities: beach outings, a weekend trip to Rio, they had separate rooms, and a day trip to a nearby town called Parati. Then Thomas had to go to Sao Paulo for work and asked Linda if she could take care of Patrice for a couple of days. He arranged for a driver and let her use the car. While he was away, Linda explored the house. The living room had a huge library, filled with books from floor to ceiling, and there was a wooden ladder that moved along a rail. Linda knew that Thomas liked to read about many topics, so she started looking through the titles. There were many books on game coding, contemporary novels, and lots in other languages he spoke: Portuguese, French, and Flemish. She came across a section about European nobility and wondered who would read that. There were old books about kings, dukes, and barons. Then she found an Oxford yearbook. Oxford? Curious, she opened it and saw names like Jeff Skinner and Thomas de Maizière. She noticed the D in the middle of Thomas' name that she hadn't known about. Trinity College. He went to Oxford. That's incredible. She was eager to learn more. LinkedIn. She hadn't thought to check him there. She went to her laptop but found out he didn't have a LinkedIn account. Jeff was right. He kept a low profile. She Googled Thomas de Maizière Oxford and found the school's alumni page. Why hadn't she thought of that? Oxford BSc, Oxford MSc, Oxford PhD in quantum computing. Wow. Quantum computing seemed complicated. She took a moment to read about it, realizing she had thought he studied computer science. She kept searching on Google and ChatGPT to learn more about him. In 30 minutes, she pieced together everything she could find. Jeff and Thomas had been good friends at Oxford. After finishing their undergraduate studies, Jeff went into law while Thomas chose physics and computing. Thomas enjoyed gaming and created a game called Fortress Crush as a hobby while completing his PhD. After graduating, he decided to launch it. The game was a big hit, and he quickly returned to Brazil, though she didn't know the reason yet. 2 years later, he sold the game for $80 million to Game Corp, which made him extremely wealthy. No wonder his lawyers urged him to sign a prenup. Thomas became an employee of Game Corp by agreement with his new bosses and was tasked with finding more games to acquire. He then moved to the U.S. He had told her that he wouldn't stay in the U.S. for long. He wanted to learn how things worked in the country and understand the American way of doing business. Now she realized why. He wasn't like most immigrants who came to build a life in the U.S. He already had a successful life before. She messaged Jeff about her findings. He replied, "You are about halfway there." She asked, why did he move back from Europe after his PhD? Jeff warned her, "I wouldn't ask him that until you are very comfortable with each other, and maybe not even then." Thanks. She closed her laptop and reached for an old photo album on the bookshelf. The first album showed Thomas with his parents, enjoying moments at the beach, a forest, a farm, and a big city that looked like Sao Paulo. There were also photos at large waterfalls that seemed even bigger than Niagara. There were pictures from Europe and a planted forest in front of a sawmill, which she found strange. Another album showed Thomas as an older boy, around 10 years old. He was dressed formally, his father in a tuxedo and his mother looking beautiful with shiny jewelry. These photos were outdoors in a garden, then inside a palace, and finally with some older people she didn't recognize. As she turned the pages, she saw many people dressed in nice clothes. Then they posed with someone she immediately recognized, the Queen of England. Linda felt dizzy. She left the album open, knowing she had to ask Thomas about this. How could it be possible? She had already guessed that his parents were wealthy, but attending palace parties and interacting with the Queen? She moved on to another photo album. This one showed a teenage Thomas in Europe during summer. The pictures were filled with blonde teenagers, likely in Sweden. There were a few pretty girls, and she saw Thomas holding hands with a girlfriend, sharing sweet moments together. Then there was a photo of them laughing at a beach. One photo showed the girlfriend in swimwear, and Linda felt a surge of anger and jealousy. She took a deep breath, reminding herself that this was the past. She had also had boyfriends before Thomas. She knew she shouldn't, especially after everything that happened. As she attempted to put the album back on the shelf, an envelope slipped out. On it was his handwriting, "Never take life for granted." Inside were photos, one of a car crash, clearly from Brazil. Thomas's parents had lost their lives there. It wasn't their Land Rover, it was some old vehicle. Their bodies were in bad shape. As a trained nurse, she had seen many things, but this still shocked her. Why did he keep those pictures? There were two more photos. One was of his former girlfriend and the other was of Linda. Now she understood why he had kept them. She carefully put them away. May his parents rest in peace. When Thomas returned, she knew they would have a lot to discuss. "Is it too late to ask about your past?" Linda said. She should have waited for a better moment. Thomas had just come back from a trip and looked very tired and irritated. "Why?" he asked. "Because, please. I want to know what I missed all these years." He studied her face closely. "What did you find?" "Your photos and yearbook," she replied, trying to appear innocent. He seemed upset. She put on her most apologetic face. "Please don't be mad. You brought me into your life and I got curious. I didn't invite you. You showed up here suddenly. Come on, Thomas, everything is so different here." She gestured around the room. "I got to see a side of you I didn't know existed and all that I missed. Please. You didn't care before. That's true, but I do now. I really care." "Why? We're not even a couple." That must have stung, but she didn't show it. "Don't you think I should know about my son's history? There's clearly a lot to it. The other day you were in danger." She pointed to his injured leg. "You drive an old car that isn't safe. If something happens to you, your son will have no idea." He took a deep breath. "That's not fair, Linda. But you have a point. If you bring me a beer and some peanuts, I'm really tired. I just want to change out of this suit and relax. But I have to pick up Patrice. You started this conversation, so we finish it now. He's been getting home fine by bus since you arrived." "Okay." What do you want to know? He asked. Who are all these people? She showed him the photos. That's the king and queen of Sweden, my mother's relatives. She was a first cousin to him. Really? He nodded. And these? Just a bunch of cousins and aunts and uncles from my father's side. Speaking of family, I need your permission to take Patrice to visit family in Europe. I can't take him outside Brazil without your approval. That made her upset. What? You won't let me take him to the US, but you want me to let you take him to Europe? It's for his benefit, Linda. And you can come too. I have no money and I need to work. Money is not a problem. What do you mean, Thomas? I mean money isn't an issue. Thomas, please don't joke with me, you know. She paused, clearly upset. You are right. Another pause. But please sign it, and I promise we will find a way for you to join us. You'll get to spend time with Patrice, and we have shown we can be friendly. You won't think about coming back to the US? Look around, Linda. We have the ocean, nice weather, good food, and great schools. Why would we leave? I understand. She looked down but pushed her sadness away. What about this photo? She showed him the picture with the Queen. You know who this is, right? Thomas. Okay, same event in Stockholm. It's a rare occasion. The Queen usually doesn't attend events with other monarchs, from what I heard. And this one? That's our old family home, Chateau d'Outremont. I haven't been there in 10 years. That's where I want to go with Patrice. You have a chateau? Technically, it belongs to the foundation, l'Outremont Stichting. What did you say? L'Outremont Stichting. He pronounced it in a mix of French and Flemish. Spell it. He did. It was you. Suddenly, she was angry. You donated money for my job. I saw the foundation's name on the list of donors at the hospital. I thought it was strange. Then my boss said that was the foundation that funded my job. No wonder they let me take vacation so quickly. You did this to me. She shouted and was clearly frustrated. Look, I made mistakes and I regret them deeply. I had a terrible time and I hurt my family. Us, my parents, everything. You left and I don't hold that against you. But you can't control everything. I'm doing my best to rebuild our family. But I feel empty, and you seem to have everything. You look like a heartless, rich person. How could you do this, Thomas? She rushed to her bedroom and slammed the door shut. He sighed, knowing she had a point. In a way, he had played with her feelings. Maybe not intentionally, but it still hurt. He didn't think of himself as cruel, but that's how she saw him. He regretted everything. He wanted her back. The moment she walked through the door, he had decided to forgive her, but instead, they were just causing each other pain. He had hurt her while she tried to reach out. Feeling foolish, he stood up and followed her. He knocked and opened her door, but stayed outside the room. She was curled up in bed, facing away from him, quietly crying. Yes, it was me. I did it because I felt sorry for you, and what I did was too hasty. I lived this good but empty life, while you are alone and without work. I needed to help, but I was too proud to admit it. I wanted you to feel some pain, but I didn't want to be too harsh. It was foolish of me. I'm not a cruel person. I just acted out of anger, and I apologize. She didn't reply. I mean it, Linda. Can we try again? Please? Leave me alone, Tom. They heard a sound. Patrice is here. I will keep him busy while you rest, okay? But Patrice was already by his mother's door. What's wrong with Mom? She's not feeling well, and that's why she's sad. Let's give her a kiss and a hug, then we can play video games, all right? She needs to relax. Thomas kissed Linda's hair a little longer than usual and left the room. She didn't move. Patrice hugged his mom but got bored after a while. Dad took him to the beach. He left a note for Linda in case she came out. On the way back, they encountered a thunderstorm, probably the first of the rainy season. It was strong enough that Linda came out of her room to see. Quite a show, isn't it? Are we safe here? She asked. Yes, the house is built solidly and the roof is really sturdy. It may not look it, but this house is strong. Then I am going to bed. She still seemed upset. That night, Thomas tucked Patrice in, changed into his long pajamas, grabbed a warm blanket from the closet, and knocked on Linda's bedroom door. He asked if he could join her in bed, and she responded with a grunt. He took that as a sign to come in, and they cuddled. I love you, Linda, he whispered. I deserved what you said earlier. Holding Linda, Thomas finally slept through the night and part of the next morning, for the first time in a long while. The next morning, Thomas woke up to find his wife washing dishes at the counter, her back to him. He hugged her from behind and kissed her neck. She paused, but then relaxed in his arms. He wished he could hold that moment forever. "Did you send our little one to preschool?" She nodded. "Thanks. I didn't hear the alarm. I haven't slept so well in a while." She sniffed. He turned her gently to face him and kissed her softly. "I'm sorry, Linda. I can explain. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just angry and embarrassed, and it's not just that. I'm leaving tomorrow, Thomas. I thought I was coming here to take you both home. How foolish of me. Look at all this. I can't compete. Stay." Her eyes lit up. "Really? I think you should. Are you still teasing me? You can't play with me anymore, Thomas. Please." She looked at him with sadness. He took her hands gently. "No, I mean it. I want us to try again. Please stay. What if it doesn't work? Then it doesn't. But we owe it to ourselves, right? But then I lose my job, my life, and my son. I won't let that happen. Just promise me you won't betray my trust again." "Never." She smiled, a sweet, innocent smile he loved so much. "Thomas, sit down. I'll bring you breakfast." "Thomas, if your mother is related to the king, does that make you?" "What? What do you mean? Was she a princess or something?" He took a sip of his coffee, took a deep breath, and sighed. "You want to know if we have a noble title. Not from that side of the family. But from my father's side. Linda, did you ever see your son's Brazilian and Belgian passports?" "No." "Thomas, I am so ashamed." "Don't be. I made sure he's registered with both places. In the U.S., he's Patrice Brown Maziere, but elsewhere he is Patrice Lundgren de Maziere Not, and he is the Count of Outremont Not, the 11th generation and the 5th with that name. Do you understand why I need you to say his name correctly?" She was speechless. Then she stood up, walked around the porch, bent over, and shouted into the wind. "Ah! You trickster! Are you upset with me again? Is there anything else you haven't told me? Sit down. Here's a quick history lesson. Our family has owned land since the 1700s, before Belgium became a country. They fought with Napoleon. That was okay, but I'm not proud of what my family did later. They were part of the Belgian Congo and made a lot of money there in the late 1800s. Look that up. It wasn't Belgium's best time, and it doesn't make me proud either. We've been giving to charities in Africa ever since, but no amount of money can change what happened. My mother's family owned forests in Sweden. Her father wisely sold land there to buy land here when prices were good. For every piece they sold there, they bought 100 here. The trees grow quickly here. My father saw how smart that was and invested his family's money in it too. Our family's business provides wood to local paper mills and big companies like IKEA and P&G. My cousins get to live well in nice places, and I get to surf, create video games, and be with you. Sorry for asking. How wealthy is your family? The family's worth is over $1 billion, divided among 3 people. We have some credit available just in case, but we have no debt. We make $180 million every year after taxes. We give a third to charity, sometimes more. That's why I travel every 3 months for board meetings and visits for a $1 billion family trust, not for anything else. And we lived in a nice townhouse. Your friends had flashy cars they couldn't afford. Forget them. By the way, what kind of car did Mark drive? Something showy and not to my taste. Yours is stylish. Risky, but stylish. There was silence. Thomas, what's the story behind this? She pointed to her ring. I heard that an ancestor who fought with Napoleon bought it from a bankrupt Austrian noble after a famous battle. Look up that battle later. I regret breaking the ring. It could have paid for Patrice's university. Please let me fix it. No. He paused. You said Patrice will be the count. Does he know? Of course not. He will know in a few years. But if he's going to be the count, that means you— Yes. My full name is Thomas Antonius Lundgren de Maziere Not, Count of Outremont Not. That's what my Belgian passport says and what is in the records of the Noble Council. So all this time I've been married to a count? He just nodded. Wow, how could I not know this? Thomas, I am so sorry. I will never forgive myself for being so focused on myself. Linda, don't be too hard on yourself. It's time to move forward. He paused. And don't bury yourself in medication. You know that too. I've been told. There was silence again. How should I treat you? Kindly, lovingly, with all the respect a good husband deserves. No, you silly. I mean like your majesty, your excellency? He laughed. That's for kings and officials. If you want to, which could become a funny joke very quickly, especially in front of Jeff. Does he know all this? Jeff knows everything. Go on. She waved her hand for him to continue. You may call me Your Grace, Sir Thomas Antonius, Count of Outremont-Not, or just Your Grace, or Sir Thomas. She stood up and performed a playful curtsy, repeating it for emphasis. He was slightly annoyed. I got it the first time, you know, and just so you know, that applies to you too. What? You are the Countess, at least in Belgium. I had to send your birth and marriage certificates along with Patrice's birth records. I'm sure you are in the noble books. She was taken aback. He stood up and bowed. Shall we go to the beach, Your Grace? We can have a fancy plant-based hot dog for lunch there. Can you teach me to surf? Not with my weak leg and that swimsuit of yours. You will have to wait. What's wrong with the bikini? It's a bit too revealing for this beach. While I would love to see you in it, this isn't that kind of place. Ah. They fell silent. Thomas, can we sleep together tonight? Silence. Like last night? No, I was thinking a bit more. Like last night is fine. I'm just not sure about more than that, Linda. Not yet. But you just said. She looked at him, expecting anger, but seeing fear instead. Please, it's been so long. We can take our time. I realized that after we parted ways, I always took and never gave back. If we ever get back together, I want to change that. She was blushing. She stood from her beach chair, sat beside him on the sand, and placed her hand on his chest. I appreciate that, Linda. Truly. I'm just not sure I'm ready. She looked at him with pleading eyes. He sighed. You have to promise me you won't be upset if I can't. Okay. Promise me. I promise. Later, they called a babysitter, went out for an early dinner at a simple restaurant on the mountain, had some drinks, and returned home after Patrice was in bed. Linda played some music on Spotify, and they tried to dance slowly, though a little awkwardly. She noticed Thomas seemed nervous, and so was she, so she hugged him, kissed him, and rested her head on his chest. It felt comforting, helping them relax. They cuddled in a hammock, and she had to take the lead in their closeness. After a bit, Thomas responded, and they moved together. She gently took his hand to his room. They were mostly in the dark with just a bit of light from the hallway. She carefully helped him get comfortable and then turned to take her own clothes off. She lay down beside him, feeling their connection grow. She softly kissed him and touched him gently. Thomas was unsure at first, but then he started to touch her back. After a moment, she leaned closer to him. He tried to stop her, but she reassured him softly. I will be gentle, please, let me. Linda, no please. He felt uneasy. Thomas, we've been close before. Images from the past flooded his mind. Moments of happiness, first love, and warm memories of them together. He felt overwhelmed and whispered, Linda, please stop. She was lost in the moment and didn't hear him. Only thoughts of the past lingered. His mind was racing, and he felt lost. He was breathing heavily. Linda, Mark. He kept saying, Mark, you jerk! This caught Linda's attention, but then he thought of Camille. He imagined Michael coming in and yelled, Camille, stop! He pushed Linda away from him and cried out, Please stop! I can't take this! Go away! Why did you do this to me, Camille? With him, with Mark, my best friend. He struggled to breathe. Linda felt confused and hurt. She just sat there. After what felt like a long time but was likely just a few minutes, she picked up her clothes, kissed his forehead, and gently stroked his hair. Then she left quietly to cry and think in her own space. The next morning, Thomas woke up alone in the house with a handwritten note. It said, I took Patrice to school and left for the airport. I'm sorry, Thomas, I will always love you, but we both need to heal. Please don't call me. I won't answer. Why? He texted. You don't remember? She replied. I remember pushing you, but you said you wouldn't be angry. Did I hurt you? I'm a little bruised, but it's not a big deal. I just didn't expect that. His memory was hazy, and the night felt overwhelming. Expect what? Linda, I love you. We can work through this. Please don't give up on us. Not right now, Thomas. He'll send you the travel papers for Patrice as you asked. Thank you. Linda? What? If I send Patrice to you during breaks, will you promise to bring him back? I promise. Thank you. But you bring him back. I want to see you, Linda. Please, can you come to Europe with us for him? I can't promise that. I'm hurt, Thomas. Why? You said you wouldn't be mad. Don't you remember? Remember what? I told you to stop, but you didn't. Linda. Silence. Goodbye for now, Thomas. Linda, please. Linda? Why is she doing this? He remembered pushing her away, but she had promised. He decided to go after her. Could he travel to the U.S.? He called his accountant. You must not set foot in the U.S. until March of next year. You gave up your residency, and now is a very delicate time. Going back could lead to big problems with the IRS, and they are keeping an eye on you. I've already received 2 inquiries. What if I used my other passport? They know you have dual citizenship. That would only make things worse. Misrepresentation could be a serious issue. He felt frustrated. He took a slow walk around his property, thinking about where it all went wrong. What is he supposed to remember? He called his assistant at the office. I'm not sure if she is traveling as Mrs. Linda Brown or Linda Maziere. She will connect through Miami, so it must be American Airlines or a local airline. Please find her, upgrade her to first class, and arrange a nice welcome for her. It's the least I can do. He had nothing to do. The house felt empty, and he felt anxious. It was 11 a.m. He decided to go for a swim and ended up swimming for 3 hours. He was tired by the time he picked up his child. Mommy left, but she said maybe we'd see her at Christmas. She did. There was a hint of hope. He received one last text from her at night. Thank you for the upgrade. He checked his watch. Are you on the plane? Yes. Enjoy, and thanks for the visit. I love you. Please don't give up on me. He saw that his reply was received and read, but nothing else came. Now it was his turn to be quiet. Later, he took a moment to have a drink. Looking down, he noticed a photo album out of place. He pulled it out and started flipping through it, eventually landing on pictures of Camille. Suddenly, he remembered. He had called Linda Camille. No wonder he felt so overwhelmed. He had a panic attack, the 3rd one in his life. It was foolish. He should have explained everything to her before. He was making mistake after mistake. He checked his watch again. She was flying. It was okay. He could explain it all in the morning and she would understand. He managed to get some good sleep. The next day, Linda didn't answer her phone. Neither did her parents. He sent her a text, but it didn't go through. He tried calling her phone instead of messaging, but she had blocked him. Why? He remembered that her parents' home phone had been disconnected a few years back. Emails went unanswered. Why was she ignoring him? He was not happy about it. What could he do? Jeff. Jeff knew everything about Oxford and Camille. He could visit Linda and explain. He sent a message to Jeff, but it wasn't delivered. He called, but there was no answer. He called his office, and a junior paralegal picked up. She reminded him that Jeff was on his break in Nepal and wouldn't be back for another 35 days. She was sure Jeff had mentioned it to Thomas. Thomas said he remembered vaguely and thanked her. Can you do anything else for me? Could you try to find my wife Linda and ask her to please give me 5 minutes of her time? Tell her our son is well and misses her. The woman understood their situation. I will try. A week passed and the woman called back. Sir, I'm not sure how to say this. I found her at her parents' house. She said she's not ready to talk to you yet, but she will eventually. She mentioned that everything is fine and that you shouldn't worry. She is glad to hear about your son. That's good. I'm glad too. But, sir? The woman hesitated. What is it? I saw her yesterday at Starbucks with that football player. They weren't being physical and didn't leave together or kiss. I just thought you should know. I'm sorry, sir. I hope I did the right thing. Claire, is that your name? Could you hire a private investigator and put the cost on my bill? Thomas felt overwhelmed. His world was falling apart again. He sank to the floor, struggling to breathe, and thought about running away from everything. It took all his strength to resist. He had to stay strong for Patrice and fight for Linda. He couldn't believe she would return to that guy after everything that had happened. Jeff would be back in 30 days, and it might be too late. He could fly back to the U.S. and pay the penalty. Was Linda worth it? Yes. But he could also face jail for tax issues he didn't create. He couldn't take that chance. He needed a way to talk to her, but he felt powerless. But then he remembered he had an idea. It took him a long day, but he managed to reach Linda's hospital HR chief. He called her, but she wouldn't answer, so he had to go through the right channels. His cousin, who was the head of his foundation, contacted the hospital board chair, who called the hospital CEO, who then reached out. When the HR chief asks a nurse to come to her office, it usually has to be done right away, unless she's busy. Am I getting fired? Did Thomas withdraw my funding? Linda Brown-Mazier? Yes? She had the phone in her hand. The person on the line went through a lot to get to you. I don't have anything to say to him yet. But he does. He asked for 5 minutes, and I think you should hear him. Please, I won't leave until you talk to him. Linda was annoyed. Your Grace? That made her boss raise an eyebrow, but she managed to greet him. Stepping out of the office, she said, Thomas, seriously, I told you I'd talk when I was ready. Did you really have to go through all this? I'm sorry, I was desperate. I wanted to wait for Jeff to come back from his trip to speak with you, but then what? His associate saw you with Mark. Please don't retaliate against me, Linda. I understand what I did. There's a reason. There's past pain. Camille was. Long ago, years before you. She. He stumbled over his words. I can't explain well. It's too hard. Can I write it down? Please give me your new phone number or email. No writing, please. You won't leave me alone if I give you my number, and right now I can't. I'm sorry, Thomas. Not yet. Please respect my wishes. You kept me waiting for a long time. Now it's your turn. I will send you a letter then to the hospital. I won't read it, Thomas. Why are you doing this to me? He seemed really upset. Please let Jeff talk to you. He will be back in less than a month. Please don't date Mark again before you hear from him. He will explain who Camille and Michael were. I know you might feel jealous. If you think this is revenge, please don't. I don't have feelings for her, Linda. Only for you. I know how it sounds, but she... He was crying now. He took a deep breath. Please don't end things between us. Listen to Jeff before you make a choice you might regret. Promise me. Please. She could feel his sadness, but wanted to tease him a little. How does it feel, Thomas, to be on the other side of silence? Bad. Miserable. Thomas, listen. There is nothing you can do to change my mind, and if you call here again, I won't answer. I don't care what happens. We will talk again when I am ready. When will that be? When I decide. But I will listen to Jeff. I promise. I won't do anything foolish. Not with Mark or anyone else. I told you we both need time. Then why did you meet him? That's not your concern. Goodbye, Thomas. Just remember, I love you. I love... Linda took a deep breath and wiped her tears as she left the office. Thomas felt a mix of anger and worry every time he got updates from his private investigator. Linda had met with Mark 3 times, once each week, during her days off. 2 times for coffee and once for lunch. Thomas had seen the pictures. The first time, they hugged goodbye. The second time, Mark walked her to her car and kissed her on the cheek before she got in. The third time, during lunch, he tried to kiss her, but she turned away at the last moment. So far, nothing inappropriate had happened, but he could sense where it might lead. He was troubled by her last words. He could envision the divorce papers coming out soon. Jeff was coming back tomorrow. Thomas, Jeff, you're probably tired from traveling, but you need to see Linda right away and tell her everything about Camille. Today, please. Jeff. Hello, Thomas. How are you? Thomas. Jeff, this is serious. Can I call you? They talked for an hour, and a sleepy Jeff set up a meeting with Linda for the next morning. That worked for Linda. She had promised Thomas that she would listen to Jeff before making any rash decisions. Her date with Mark was the next night. She arrived on time, and Jeff looked at her closely. He thought she seemed different, determined, but a bit tense. To lighten the mood, he said, So, Your Grace, would you like some coffee? I apologize for not having tea or scones." This made her laugh. "And to think I've been a countess all these years. Would you have made different choices if you had known?" he asked. "That's a tough question," she replied. "Sorry. You once asked me why Thomas left Europe so quickly after finishing his studies," Jeff continued. She nodded. "Yes, I remember. I told you to wait and ask him one day. It has to do with Camille, the first and only love of his life before you. He has been with only 2 women. Camille, Linda. Both hurt him deeply." "Oh, no," she reacted. "Camille was a second cousin from Sweden. They dated when he was about 16 or 17. She was a year older. He spent winters in Brazil. She spent Christmas in Europe. I have a picture of them somewhere. I saw a photo. You don't need to show me. She also studied at Oxford, arriving before him." Jeff changed the subject. "Linda, Thomas is extremely smart. He could have attended schools anywhere, Oxford, Cambridge, Harvard, MIT. He chose Oxford to be with her. Lucky for me, I made a lifelong friend. Not so lucky for him. He never mentioned any of this to me. Remember, he keeps things low-key. He doesn't brag. We were 4 friends through university and graduate school. Thomas, me, Camille, and Michael." Thomas thought of Michael as his best friend, and at times I felt a bit jealous since they were into video games and I wasn't. But Camille and Michael? Yes, Camille had some emotional issues. Looking back, I see signs of selfish behavior. Back then, we didn't understand. She dated both of them, claiming it was normal. She felt she had the right to do as she pleased. She was with them both, sometimes on the same day. Later, we discovered she had another boyfriend in Sweden. Michael was aware of Thomas, but Thomas didn't know about Michael. One day, Thomas flew to Brazil to pick up a ring from the vault, your ring. Linda instinctively covered it with her hand. To propose to Camille. His mother had already passed away then. Camille accepted, and they spent time together. Then, Michael walked in on them and pretended to be shocked. The thing is, Michael had just been with Camille only hours before Thomas proposed. Thomas took the ring off Camille's finger, confronted Michael, and left in frustration. Linda was taken aback. "This ring brings trouble." "Maybe. There's more. Camille is royalty in her country, somewhere near the throne. You know how shy your husband is. He pretends to be social when he needs to, but really he is quite shy. After the incident, he cut off all contact with Camille and the rest of the family. He only sees his cousins for business reasons and an elderly aunt. He finished his PhD in isolation and turned down all social invitations. He started his own game, moved to Brazil, sold his company, and showed off his success to everyone, especially Camille. He thought he found the love of his life. If things had gone differently, he would have kept working on his research. The team he was part of is thought to be on track for a Nobel Prize soon. He was very talented, but instead, he invested his energy into the video game and became a millionaire again. She looked thoughtful. "Linda, he has a private investigator checking on you. He told me what happened in Brazil and that you 2 made up, but then something went wrong on your last night there, and you stopped contacting him. You can't really be thinking of dating Mark. What are you doing?" "I need to sort out some things and then everything will be okay." Mark felt lucky. He had heard how badly things had turned out for Linda after their night together. Her husband got so upset that he left the country with their son. That was great for Mark. He started to learn more about Linda's husband. He was not just an average guy. He was a wealthy tech entrepreneur living under the radar. This made Mark feel even better about his relationship with Linda. He enjoyed causing trouble for husbands. He especially enjoyed turning wealthy, arrogant husbands into jealous partners. Linda went to Brazil, hoping to fix her marriage, but her husband couldn't be with her because of his worries. That was amusing to Mark. Then she came back, and what did she do? She had her friend set up a coffee meeting with him. This was going to be quite the event, especially knowing that her husband was watching everything unfold through his private investigator, unable to do anything about it since he couldn't return to the U.S. Mark had seen Linda a few times. They hadn't kissed yet, but he was sure his actions had already upset her husband. Tonight was going to be special. He planned to meet Linda again. He wanted to have dinner first, even though he preferred to go to the club to show her off. She insisted on dinner, so he made a reservation at a table by the window. She was still living with her parents and told him they couldn't find out about their date. So, she said she was working an extra shift at the hospital. She went there to change, and he picked her up afterward. It was a strange pickup spot, but he understood. Usually, he would give the car to the valet, but she wanted to park in an empty spot across the street from the restaurant. "Why?" he asked. "Why not? The street is clear, and the valets take forever. If we park here, we can leave quickly." He liked that idea. They walked across the street to the restaurant and enjoyed a nice meal with some wine. Mark drank more than Linda. He accidentally called her Lisa a couple of times, but she acted like she didn't hear him. She went to the restroom a couple of times and seemed a bit anxious. He tried to kiss her a few times, and towards the end of the meal, she let him. When they stood up to leave, he kissed her again and placed his hand on her waist as they walked out of the restaurant. Thomas would later feel sick when he saw those pictures. He held her waist again as they stepped outside. At the curb, she turned to him and put her finger to his lips. "Shh. Let me call Dee. Just a second." "Hi, Dee. We're heading out now. Yes, he'll tell you everything tomorrow." "Hey there. Can you catch me to the car?" And she ran ahead across the street. Mark chased after her, feeling a bit dizzy. Linda was at the curb waiting for him. Just as Mark reached the driver's door, an old truck hit him and his Lamborghini, dragging them more than 50 feet and causing serious injuries. This was exactly what Linda and her accomplice, a man wronged by Mark, had planned. Mark had always taken precautions. The man had tried to get back at him for over a year, but Mark surrounded himself with security. The man needed Linda as bait to lower Mark's guard. When she returned from Brazil, she agreed to help. However, she never wanted anyone to get hurt. The truck not only hit Mark, but also pushed the Lamborghini against the curb, throwing Linda backward. She hit her head hard and lost consciousness. The next morning, Thomas saw photos and clips of the scene, so he was prepared for Jeff's call. "I spoke with her parents. There's some bleeding in her head. The doctors had to drain it twice. She's still in the intensive care unit." "Jeff, what did I do to deserve all this?" "Thomas, I am sorry." Thomas felt stuck between filing for divorce or making a trip to see her, something he couldn't do yet. "I can't explain why she acted this way. She cried when I told her about Camille, and then the next day she was with that man. You have every right to leave her, and I want to help if I can. But deep down, you know it's not the right time. The courts wouldn't let you proceed until things stabilize anyway. Be patient. You're not getting married anytime soon, right? In reality, it's like you're already divorced." Another month passed. Linda's bleeding had stopped. MRIs showed her brain was fine. She was getting better physically, but 2 days after the accident, she slipped into a coma and wouldn't wake up. Doctors told her parents, who told Jeff, who then told Thomas, that she could wake up in a week, a month, a year, or maybe never. The brain is still a mystery to modern science. They also mentioned that the more stimulation she had from light, touch, or movement, the better her chances. But she wouldn't get that. Her medical insurance was running out. They could move her to a standard long-term care wing nearby, where she'd receive basic care. Linda's parents considered taking legal action against Mark Lavaliere, but Jeff informed them it would take time, and Linda didn't have that. They wanted to sell their home to pay for her care. Jeff took a deep breath and did what he could. Thomas had his own company cover the cost for the best care facility recommended by her colleagues at a price of $200K a month plus extras, the very same hospital where Linda had worked. Linda would get the constant support and stimulation she needed at the place where she had been employed just months before. Linda's sister finally reached out to Thomas, apologized for the first time, and thanked him for his concern on behalf of herself and their parents. And then she made another mistake. "She loves you, you know," he scoffed. "If she does, her idea of love is pretty confused. She came here wanting to reconnect. I let my guard down, everything seemed good, and we shared tears of joy. But then, when things got tough, she ran back to that man. What is wrong with you, Carol? I think she has issues, just like Camille. That's my burden to bear. Make no mistake, I will divorce her as soon as I can, coma or not. I'm paying for her care out of respect for your parents and because I couldn't bear not doing what I can for my son's mother. But it was good that you called. Now I know exactly what I need to do." He said a quick goodbye and ended the call. Carol was left wondering who Camille was while Thomas called Larissa, his physiotherapist. Epilogue, July 2026. She got out of the cab, paid the driver, and pulled up her coat. Light rain hit her face and the wind nipped at her. The car's thermometer showed 10 degrees Celsius. She didn't think the weather could be that cold and wet. It was winter in the southern hemisphere and she hadn't prepared well. The Land Rover and a Subaru were parked. He had gotten a better car, which was good. She noticed Patrice's booster seat in the Subaru, not the Rover. She had no idea what to expect. She had woken up from her coma 2 weeks earlier and had boarded a plane right after being discharged. Doctors had advised months of physiotherapy before she traveled, but she didn't have the time. He had divorced her, and her father had helped her through the process. Thomas didn't understand why she had done what she did. She had wanted to remove the problem that loomed over them. She worried that she had missed her chance with Thomas. She had checked with Jeff to see if Thomas was dating anyone, but he didn't know. Thomas had shut himself off from everyone again. Jeff offered to call Thomas to give him a heads-up about her visit, but she declined. She wanted to face him directly and didn't want him to close her out again. Maybe he would want to see her, or maybe he wouldn't. There was a chance he had moved on, but she had to take that risk. She was hopeful. After all, he continued to pay her medical bills even after the divorce. The doctors insisted she owed her recovery to his kindness. She needed to express her gratitude in person. Telling him over the phone didn't feel right. She limped with a cane, her legs weak from 10 months in a hospital bed. Although her appetite was returning, she still felt fragile. She needed assistance getting around in airports. The cab driver helped her with her bag. Here goes nothing, she thought. She approached the house, which was unlocked. It felt empty and cold. In Brazil, houses didn't have central heating. Who needed it for just 10 days of winter each year? It was 9 a.m. Patrice was probably at school, but Thomas was nowhere to be seen. Then she noticed a baby stroller and a baby napping inside. Her heart sank. Could he really have moved on? He could. If he had found someone else, that was fate. She felt it was all her fault due to her choices. A cleaner stepped out from the bedroom. In simple Portuguese, Linda told her about Thomas. At the beach, surfing. He'll be back around noon, she pointed to her watch. Who would surf in this weather? She walked slowly to the guest bathroom, took a shower, put on her warmest clothes, and stepped back outside. A woman was feeding her baby. The cleaner had brought her child to work. His name was Miguel, a nice name for a boy. She borrowed a raincoat hanging by the door and carefully made her way to the beach, trying not to slip. She had spent enough time in the hospital in her life. Thomas was out in the ocean, riding a wave. Her heart raced. She pulled the raincoat over her head and sat on the cold, wet sand. This winter felt easy compared to where she came from. And she waited. He wouldn't see her, he still had trouble with his sight, she recalled. Not as bad as before, but still enough to overlook her. She watched him for a couple of hours. She decided he wasn't a very good surfer. He missed many waves and fell off too often. He struggled on the board and took a long time to paddle back out. That was fine. Her ex was talented in so many areas: computing, coding, languages, swimming, and even fighting. He was a true count, leading a long-standing family. He could be bad at surfing, and it was all right. She noticed something else. The other surfers, all young, respected him. They let him go first, high-fived him, laughed and chatted. Later, she would find out that these were kids from nearby neighborhoods, whom he helped by giving them boards and bikes in return for staying in school. Eventually, he came out of the water and pulled off the top of his wet suit. He looked fit and relaxed, just like she remembered. He would have to notice her eventually, as she was intentionally in his path. She stood up, feeling a bit sore, and took careful steps towards him. She was soaked and shivering. He noticed her, stopped in his tracks, and his board fell into the sand. She couldn't tell what he was thinking. "Please listen to me for 5 minutes. If you don't like what I say, you'll leave," she pleaded. But he had already made up his mind to give her all the time she needed.